Boom. We are live Thursday evening. A little bonus episode this week for you guys. Super excited for this one. Hope everybody is safe and well and healthy and warm. Hectic out here. So this is a big one, guys. This is something I've been excited about for a long time. Didn't think we'd get this one done as soon as this. So, mate, I think I'm just going to get right into it. This is episode 49. All right. What's good, y'all? This is C-Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 49 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast, Adjunct Series, Quarantine Edition. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special one. This is a brewery that I imagined that we'd always get out to British Columbia to talk to these guys. I've been a huge fan since, I want to say, 2016, 2017, when I started trading with a friend, Shasta Daniel, out there in BC, to make sure I got their beer. I have been in love with a bunch of their stuff. Everything I've tried is always phenomenal. The branding is fire. I was very excited to connect. There he is. Daniel's jumping on already, not messing around. What's up, bro? Shouting you out already. I'm just going to bring him right on in. And also, this evening, I have my brother, Notion, who, as you know, is our audio engineer, photographer, key part of BAOS, joining me to interview Adam and Brent Mills of Four Winds Brewing. There we go. Boys, welcome. Great to have you guys on. This is awesome.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Very excited to be here.
Likewise, man. Yes. So this was a good one. So Adam and I connected on Instagram. I want to say like a month or something ago. Super stoked. As soon as I saw that you followed me, I immediately hit the DM. I'm like, yo, what up? Like I was super stoked. Yeah, I just did. This is obviously a great way to continue to do the podcast. Obviously, the optimal way is to do it in person, but. As soon as we connected, I was like, yo, I want to at least throw it out there, see if you guys would be keen. So I was super, super excited for that. And then to find more about your story, that you guys are brothers that founded the brewery alongside your father. And obviously I work with my brother here. And I was like, this is a perfect little situation.
Perfect match.
Loving it. So super stoked. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff this evening, but obviously we're going to need to kick it off with the beer. So do you guys want to tell us about the first one that we're going to be rocking?
Yeah. Let's give this one a pour, why don't we?
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Nice
Yeah, cheers.
Tell us about this one. This is a relatively new beer, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've been open for almost 8 years. And this one's maybe been brewed for 3 years. We first brewed it as like a Oktoberfest fest beer in
18, I think.
But yeah, so originally it was just a beer that we wanted to brew and drink during Oktoberfest, and we loved it so much that we're like, let's do it again. And we actually it did well at BC Brew Awards, and we're like, let's make this a regular beer, and it just keeps on getting more popular, which is great for us because this is the kind of beer we love. So originally this was like a little more of a fest beer style beer.
Okay. Yep. I think. Are you guys there?
Oh, we're not going to freeze there, mate.
Okay, it'll come back. This looks fantastic.
Yeah, it smells great.
Yeah, why does it always freeze, man? Why does it have to do this?
Goddamn Ecamm, son.
Or the internets. Let's see if they'll kick back.
Probably the internet.
It's happened in the past. Do you want to take the photo? Sorry, I wanted to pour. Ooh, it smells great.
That's all right, man.
Got to get the photo.
Beautiful, eh?
Go. Here we go. Oh, you want the candle?
The candle.
Nice and grainy.
Yeah, man. It smells great. So to German, can you read the candles? Gave mine to Tiff.
Yeah, it's a German style Pilsner. It is 5%.
4.5?
Okay. 5.4, my bad.
5.4.
And it's pretty much just crisp, easy drinking lager, but it's got that really nice malted grain sort of bill that really makes it bright. It's nice.
I love it. Boys, you back?
We're back.
And we're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Technology. People used to it. Don't even sweat it. Continue.
Cool. So yeah, I don't even know where it froze, but yeah, so it was originally modeled after a fest beer. We dialed it back a little bit to make it more of a classic Pils, and we use like exclusively German ingredients on it. And,
okay.
So we're getting malt from Germany, Irex malt, which is imported from brew culture. It's not super common. A lot of people are using Weyermann for German beers out here, but we were kind of informed by a couple German brewers in Germany, like, oh, try Irex if you can get it. It's what we use in Germany, and Weyermann is for the North American market. So
Right.
we got our hands on some and really like the quality of it, and we've been kind of modifying this beer throughout the last couple of years to kind of dial it to exactly where we want it. This, I don't know if you guys are drinking the same batch.
I believe so.
But it's not as dry. This batch is not as dry as we like it.
Okay, so it's a little. This is 12th of December. Same one. Froze again. Have you got 12? You got 12th of December?
Yeah, I think so. It's actually no, I can't see a date at all. It's a smudge.
I hate it when that happens. It's canning. They need to like fix that technology, eh? Like as far as like
It's a straight up smudge. Yeah. It's all right.
It probably is the same batch, I imagine, since that was at the same time. Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah.
I want to know why it was 5.4 and not like sort of left, maybe because it was like they said it was based on like a fest beer, so they're probably a little higher.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't taste boozy at all, but you know, after a few of them, you'll feel the effects. But yeah, this is a summer crush. I feel like having this at the park or something.
Yeah. That's a nice little.
Or with some with some sausage, like, you know, some polished sausage, or like some sort of like, it's like a beer hall, eat a pretzel, eat a sausage kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the vibes I get when I drink it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're saying they like it a little drier. Here we go. I don't know what's happening with the old internet this evening.
Yeah, it's better when it finishes drier because then you want more.
Yeah, exactly. Boys are back.
We're having a good time over here.
Such a good time. You're like, who needs the internet?
Cheers, guys.
Yes, cheers. Great to have you.
Cheers.
This was a beer that we just really felt we didn't have in our lineup. Like it was just something that we needed, sort of a void we needed to fill almost. And I think Brent and Kylo, our head brewer, took a trip to Germany and were quite inspired and to the Czech Republic as well. And kind of, you know, just this is modeled after those classic German style Pilsners. So we're quite happy with it.
Nice.
I love it. I was going to actually ask two questions on this. One, why was it 5.4%? Is that because it was based on those fest beers that tend to be a little higher? And two, have you ever done a crispy before this?
Yeah, that's why it's a little bit higher. It was originally that fest beer style.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we drew back like the Vienna malt a little bit and the Munich, so it's clear in color or yellow in color. What was the other question? Something about crispy?
Have we done
crispy
before?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we pride ourselves on brewing a lot of lager beers.
Good.
We got a full-time like American corn lager that is probably the beer I drink the most. So it's 4.5%, really crisp corn lager that we hop with New Zealand hops. So it's got a little bit of like citrusy tropical notes on there, but it's very subtle, very subtle.
Okay. But this was the first time you've sort of introduced it. Like, is that one just at the pub that you're talking about? Or had you packaged that one?
No, No, the one he's talking about is a full-time SKU that we have in 6-pack 355 ml cans, and it's called Elementary Lager. It's just the kind of the sort of the most basic elementary kind of style beer rudimentary beer that we make, and so it's so crushable. It's just easy drinking, and it's available year round.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then seeing that pop up from Daniel, we do also have like a standard Pilsner, which was one of our first beers we brewed, which is actually originally brewed still brewing it. It's definitely like not our most popular beer because it's in bottles, and then we find the trend of cans is flying right now. So
yeah,
we have three full-time lager beers, and we usually brew 4 or 5 more throughout the year.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's great. Because in my head, I sort of know you guys more for the, I guess the IPAs is really. and the farmhouse type of stuff. So this is the first crispy I'd had from you guys. Now you mention it, there was a 4-pack I believe that Daniel was drinking late last year, and I think it was like 4 from you guys. It was like 4 collabs or something. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it was an 8-pack actually, but 2 of each. So it's a collab pills pack.
Crazy.
Which, we actually got version 2 dropping tomorrow.
Nice. What do you? Is it
then,
4 new collabs?
Yeah, 4 new collabs, and it's 4 Ontario breweries.
Oh shit! Okay.
So we got Bellwoods, Godspeed, Burdock, and Tooth and Nail.
Wow, that is a lineup.
That's crazy.
Yes.
You know, it's funny actually. I went to Godspeed about 2 hours ago to grab just a couple of cheeky ones, and the guy in the bottle shop, because I told him, podcast tonight, 4 wins. He's like, oh, by the way, and so if we didn't have the audio issues at the start, I would have been like, hey boys, so is this actually something we can talk about? And here we are. So that's sick. So I got the inside scoop from Buddy at the retail store, and that's really sick. That's a crazy lineup, those 4.
Yeah, we're super lucky to work with these guys. Like, we just kind of, I don't know, man. This pandemic's been crushing our spirits because we used to travel so much, and Ontario is one of our favorite places to go and meet other brewers and drink beers. And like, those 4 breweries are making some of the best lager beer I've ever had. And so I kind of just reached out and have a relationship with most of those guys, and they're all pretty keen. And like, unfortunately, we weren't able to like brew the beer together. We just did virtual. Still cool to get together and write recipes, and like, these beers are tasting excellent. We can go into the styles if you want, or
love to. I was about to.
You think.
Please.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So Adam just grabbed the pack here. So with Godspeed we did
nice.
We did with Godspeed was a Czech Special. So this is Luke's kind of thought. He was the last one to join the party, so we kind of had a lot of like low gravity crushable beers lined up. So we wanted to bring something a little bit stronger. It's a style that I've never tried. So it's just like from my understanding, is Pilsner, but a little more gravity, a little more grain in there, and so it's like a little bit stronger Pilsner. We put a little bit of darker malt in there, so it's kind of orange. So it's kind of like a Czech Bock is what it would be.
Okay.
With Burdock, we did, and very much in the Burdock spirit, we did a super light 3.5% rice lager that was dry hopped.
Oh wow! Oh, nice.
Super crushable, really nice. What else we got? Bellwoods was those guys kind of challenged us on this one. 100% wheat lager, which is something we've thought about but never wanted to do because it sounded insane. But it was
is that because it's difficult to do?
Yeah, just in the brew house, brewing with 100% wheat is usually quite challenging. But with some tips from them, because they do that a bit, we figured it out, and actually the brew wasn't too bad. But the beer is, I think, my favorite in the pack. So it's 100% wheat and just Saaz hops and a little bit of Saaz dry hops. So it's like so light and crisp. It's like Saaz soda, and we're loving it here. And then the Tooth and Nail collab is Czech dark lager, nice brown.
Sweet.
Like it's just a little bit of roastiness on it, and like super clean, crisp, really nice beer. Yeah, I wish you guys had them with you right now so we can try them. But
yeah, definitely. Are they going to be available in Ontario?
We just got them packaged up yesterday, I think. Completed them, and we plan to ship some out to Ontario. Just a really limited amount that we're hoping. Once we finish the communication with all the other the breweries, we're hoping that they'll have a few flats at their shops.
Nice.
But it's not 100% guaranteed yet, but we're working on that.
Amazing.
And we'll send you some.
Man, that would be amazing. I would love to try these. Crazy. Funnily enough, I have Maddie from Tooth and Nail on next Friday, which is good time.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So now I can ask him about that. It's such a phenomenal lineup of like perfect, like crispy boy brewers in Ontario. Like that's a real great. You guys totally did that, nailed it. Phenomenal.
We make, like, I think, like it's. I think Brent was saying that, we're very passionate about making these like lager beers and these easy drinking beers that we just want to drink, but we make the full spectrum of beers, and I think that's what you were alluding to before. Like we make IPAs, we do a lot of farmhouse ales. Brent and Kylo are really keen on like barrel aging and getting into the sours and bacterial cultures and all kinds of stuff like that. So I think it's one of the things that we kind of try to do is to try to cover the spectrum a little bit, like whatever we're interested in, the sours, the farmhouse ales, the IPAs, the lagers, and sort of everything in between. So
I love that. It keeps it super interesting as well, and it's cool to have just a nice eclectic lineup, something for everything. Plus, I know you got the pubs, it's super popular as well, so you got to handle that, which we'll probably get into shortly when we talk about sort of the direction everything maybe has changed over the last year. Daniel's asking, will he be able to get the new box in BC? I imagine so.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow. Dan, you heard that, right? Go grab it.
It'll be an art tasting room tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be an art tasting room tomorrow, and then we'll start shipping it out to stores next week. So.
Okay. Dan, go to Delta. Okay. He lives in Marpole. Is that what it's called?
It's not far, man.
Close.
It's close? Yeah, I think he always told me he was close to you guys.
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Pff, mate, it's got no excuse, really. Hey.
Clutch.
So,
imagine being so lucky.
Right? Damn it. It's actually like a really cool area. He tells me about it all the time, the whole Yeast Van beer district type of thing. And it sounds like that the bottle shops have everything there, but also you're so in such close proximity to so many great breweries that
Yeah.
It sounds
pretty
like
awesome.
Yeah, man. I don't think many, nowhere else, Montreal and Toronto don't have any direct, regions exactly like that. Which is
slacking out.
Unfortunately, us out in Delta, there's actually one other brewery within a kilometer of us, maybe 2 kilometers, but that's it. You got to drive at least 20 minutes.
I feel like
we're about 40 minutes south of Vancouver, I guess you would say, 35, 40 minutes. And
okay,
we're in the community that we kind of were raised in. Brent and I lived in Vancouver for about a decade, probably in that range, but we decided to open up the brewery in Delta to kind of contribute to our sort of hometown and to offer something here and be the kind of the Delta brewery. So
I love that. That's the move, right? Daniel's saying he goes to the High Point beer store. I guess.
Oh yeah, they'll get it.
Yep, they'll get it. They seem to have it. So let's go back. Let's hit up the history, how you both got into beer and how that led to the brewery actually being set up.
All right. I mean, maybe I'll let Brent get into that, but I'll just say that we've both just kind of been into beer for as long as they can remember. Kind of when craft beer didn't seem to be as big. It definitely wasn't as big as it was now. But in the States, there was more craft beer, and in the '90s and things like that. Not saying that we were in the '90s. There was great breweries that were coming up, and so mid 2000s, probably early 2000s, kind of like dabbling in some of that stuff. And there were some local breweries that popped up on the island and a few in Vancouver. There weren't many craft breweries, but we were always interested. And I think Brent really got super interested in maybe around 2008 or 9 or something like that. And yeah, I think one thing I remember is that I was working in sales, actually, in sales, or at this time I was doing commercial painting, or I think. But him and my dad went on a trip because we've been talking about breweries and craft beer, around the dinner table for like a long time. And him and our dad, Greg, went on a trip down to San Diego in 2011,
2012. Yeah.
And I just remember them coming back from that. They went to the Craft Brewers Conference down there.
Nice.
I remember them coming back from that like really, really inspired, and like all the conversations that we had previous, kind of, it felt like it, at least from my perspective, it felt like to them, they thought, you know what, like maybe this is something that we could do. And that's kind of where I felt the real spark, like really, although it happened before that, the conversations, that's when it sort of solidified in my mind. And what do you think, Brent?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'll take it back a little bit further. I even when I was younger, when I wasn't legal to drink, I was the guy getting a 6-pack of like Granville Island as opposed to like a 12-pack of Kokanee or something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. Those are
No, I know them both.
beers over
Oh
here.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, spending a few more dollars on something that I enjoyed, I definitely got made fun of when I was younger for it, and it was just, I don't know, I wanted to enjoy what I was paying money for. But yeah, slowly progressed and just like chose quality beer over shitty beer majority of the time. Not to say that I didn't, but yeah. But I think the catalyst for me was I was teaching English and drank the same beer for a year straight. It was just rice lager, which by no means was bad, but it was just so one-dimensional that once I came back, I just needed to try everything and got so like interested in different styles of beers, explored like the whole Belgium spectrum. And I actually wasn't that into German beers at that time, probably because I was drinking a Chinese interpretation of a German beer for a year straight. So at that point, my dad and I started doing some homebrew, and he was like, "Hey, we should make some beer." And I like was so naive. I'm like, "How do you do it?" And we just went to the homebrew shop and just started making beer in there. My parents lived in a 2-bedroom condo at that point, and I lived with them for a short period of time there because I was trapped at home and just cooked up some batches on their stove. And I still remember the first batch my dad and I brewed. We kind of looked at each other after making a huge mess and was like, let's do this. Let's open a brewery one day, which I'm sure everybody says when they brew their first batch of beer, but I remember it clearly.
That's
yeah. So, I mean, long-winded part of the story, but from there, I spent a lot of time in restaurants, working in kitchens, and I just got tired of it, and I just quit my job and applied to every brewery in Vancouver. And at the time, it was 7 breweries.
Wow.
Now there's like 70.
That's crazy.
And I got a job. It was right when the Olympics were coming to Vancouver, and I got a job working for R&B Brewing, washing and filling kegs. And so it was an amazing opportunity. The only reason they hired me is because they're going to be busy for the Olympics. I wouldn't have gotten a job otherwise. And so I was kind of temporarily hired for a couple months to make sure they can get through the Olympics, and laid off after that. And I was like, all right, I had my opportunity and wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And a couple months later, they called me back and they're like, hey, we had someone leave, so we'd like to get you back and like maybe train you how to brew. And I was like, oh, this is it. Let's do it. So I spent almost 3 years at R&B Brewing, and that's what Adam's wearing that shirt right now. This is an old school T-shirt from when I used to work there.
That's cool.
That's their like
this was probably branded or designed with the mid 90s or something. Hey, like
looks like it.
90s.
Yeah,
it's like a band T-shirt.
I know.
Yeah,
I thought it was Dark
Lord,
Lord, like the 3 Floyds.
No, it's Dark Star.
Dark Star Oatmeal Stout.
Yeah,
classic.
Which is
I
don't know if they still make it, but that beer was banging back then. But yeah, so yeah, at the time working there, our dad, Greg, was always on me like, let's do it. Let's open a brewery. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm working in a brewery. I'm trying to figure it out. And we got to the point where I was like, all right, I think I know what to do. And I had no idea, but he convinced me enough that I could do it. And so that got us to our trip down to San Diego. And so I had to go talk to Rick and Barry, who are the owners of R&B. I'm like, guys, I want to let you know I'm going to the Craft Brewers Conference, which they were going to as well. But I'm going with my dad, and I'm going to be opening a brewery when I come back. And they're like, oh, okay. At the time, it wasn't very common for like a new brewery opening up. So they were pretty shocked, but they were super supportive, and they did everything they could to help us get our feet off the ground. It was just awesome. But yeah, that trip down to San Diego was so inspiring. So many amazing breweries. Everyone was booming. Everyone was making progressive IPAs and all sorts of things. And it was just yeah, it was just the beginning. Like I said, there's 7 or 8 breweries in Vancouver at that time, and it's a whole new world now.
Yeah. So then, how long from when you guys got back to when you, like, was it immediate? Like, all right, we're doing this, or was it kind of like,
No, I think it was probably it's shocking how fast we'd opened this brewery. To be honest, I left so that we got back from San Diego sometime in like April, and I left R&B in September, and then we started building this place. We got the lease for like for December 1st, I think, and we opened up in June.
That's actually,
it was like six months.
Bad. 6 months is crazy.
That's
Yeah,
unheard of.
And we were the only brewery in Delta, and the city had never dealt with a brewery, and so it was just pretty easy to deal with them at the time, and we didn't really have to take out many permits or do a whole lot. And we were pretty small scale when we first started too, so it was it was pretty seamless. Like Brent and Greg, like they made the decision that we were going to go forward with this, and I was just completely amped about joining the team. And so eventually I kind of got on board, and our other brother Sean got on board, and we had the keys. We decided on this location that we're in now, and we had the keys, and we kind of just all, like, I was self-employed at the time. Sean was kind of just doing odd jobs. Brent had left his job. So it all kind of just, like, the 4 winds came together in that moment.
Oh, and that's where the name comes from?
Nice.
Not
That's
really.
cool.
No? Okay.
No, it's actually it's kind of a synchronicity or a coincidence that that's kind of what happened, but that's not necessarily what the name is about.
Wow, that's crazy. Y'all just like aligned like Captain Planet and shit. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, exactly. It was a fun time. Like when I think back to that time, like we just went into this like really, like it was before this BC craft beer boom, right? So we went into this really blind and just with, it's funny, I'm gonna say blind enthusiasm, and there's a brewery called that in Edmonton, I think. Right?
Yeah,
and they're great. But we went into this with this sort of like just this kind of head down, just let's just do this mentality, and kind of naive to the whole like understanding of what we were really creating. But we just worked hard at like building this brewery, and we had a really slim budget. We just kind of we put it together, and we got our equipment in. We did it pretty much everything ourselves. Brent was like plumbing and kind of learned how to do it on the fly. We hired out like some electricians and like steam fitters, but other than that, we did everything, and we built the place, and it was a really fun time. And when I think back at that, there was no way we could have known what we were actually building, but we just had a lot of passion and sort of faith in what we were doing. So
I love it. That's so cool, man. So you're in the same place now then that you got back then, right? It's the same building?
yeah,
it's the same building, but we're in one of those like industrial park strata units. Like there's like those like bay units that have lots of neighbors, you know?
Yeah.
So we initially started with 2 units that were connected, about 4,000 square feet, and we've been sort of lucky enough, or just, I don't know, lucky I guess is the word, but what happened was that sort of like neighbors kind of moved, and then we took over their unit, and then a friend owned a unit, and we took over that unit, and so now we have 10 of these 2,000 square feet units. So we went from 4,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet, like where we started. So that's a big factor in what our sort of success and our growth, our ability to grow is our ability to kind of take over neighboring like units, like strata units. And so we've been really fortunate that way, because we started small and we were able to kind of grow by 2,000 square feet at a time, and reinvest every year. Everything coming in goes into equipment, new tanks, new, just new different pieces of equipment that we need. And yeah, it's been kind of a gradual organic growth. And in some ways it's felt kind of rapid. In some ways it feels like it's taken a long time, but yeah.
Right. Amazing. So then when you opened, do you guys remember the beers that you started with? And are any of those ones around today?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We started with the core 4 beers, and we still brew those almost exactly the same. We've tweaked them I shouldn't say exactly the same at all because we've tweaked them so much, but the outcome is supposed to be the same. We just manipulated and adjusted our procedures and adjusted the raw materials and stuff. But yeah, we launched with 4 beers. It was what I was hoping we'd have a flagship saison.
Okay.
So we brewed a saison in the traditional sense, but we use a little bit of Cascade hops in the whirlpool to make it a little bit more unique and kind of our thing. And we did that Pilsner I mentioned earlier, which was like a Czech-inspired Pilsner, but with some New Zealand hops in there.
Nice.
And then an American Pale Ale that was inspired by Mirror Pond and Sierra Nevada. So it was very much like an homage to the roots of craft beer. And the last beer we did was an IPA. And we actually, that time in 2012, 2013, IPA hops were so hard to get. We actually didn't even want to do an IPA because we couldn't even get Centennial hops. Centennial hops were unavailable, let alone Citra, let alone Mosaic, let alone anything.
Did they?
So it was like, oh, let's.
Did Citra and Mosaic and all that stuff exist in 2013?
Yeah, I think Mosaic maybe came a couple years later, but
yeah.
Citra was there. I mean, it was there, but we couldn't get it.
Right.
So
were they exotic hops at the time? Like Centennial was the Nelson, the Nelson Sylvan of the time or something?
I don't know if it was exotic. I guess there was just a couple years earlier, there was a huge fire in Yakima. I think it was 2009. They lost a fifth of the crop to one fire.
That's
and so they're still feeling the effects 5 years later, I think. And but we were just a new kid on the block. We had no one wanted to give us a chance, and it's so different now. The hop market is a whole new world, whole different scenario. But anyways, we ended up making an IPA, and we ended up having to use a hop blend that I think was because of that fire in Yakima back in 2009, 2010, they created a blend of hops. So we ended up using Falconer's Flight, which is a blend of Centennial, Cascade. I think there's even Citra in there. I don't know, a bunch of stuff to make our original IPA. And honestly, I didn't want to do it, but our dad was like, no, we got to have an IPA. We're opening a brewery. We got to have a fucking IPA. And he was right. And the beer is great. It's just, we're still brewing the beer today, and it's awesome, but we're still using Falconer's Flight to keep that kind of flavor there. We've reduced it a lot over the years, and it's pretty much mostly Simcoe. Yeah, that was the 4th beer. And but yeah, it was a crazy time for hops. Couldn't get Centennial.
That's genuinely fascinating, though. I never really thought about the availability and or existence of certain hops back then. I almost feel it's not by intention, but most of the breweries we would probably interview might not have been around back then. There's been a few, obviously, but I would say most weren't, so therefore it's not even a conversation, and it's just something I never even considered. That's actually kind of hilarious. So go on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna keep going, but please continue.
I was just gonna say, so with that scarcity that happened when we opened it, forced into a fear of not being able to get hops. So we ended up contracting so heavily over the next couple of years that we're still feeling the effects of those contracts from when we first opened.
Really?
Our hop storage is super long, which I mean, we're getting through it and we're totally fine, but it was we had to sign contracts for a 5-year contract and trying to guess how much beer we'd be making 5 years from a year after opening. It was a huge challenge, and then trying to guess the beers we were gonna make, and it was weird, hard.
Yeah, damn. I mean, what's a typical hop contract now? I imagine not 5 years.
It's so different now. They used to tell you contract 3 years out, and now they're telling you contract half of what you're going to use next year.
Okay, why is that?
What's that?
Why is that? Why is that advice?
Because they got so much now. There's so much hops.
The availability has just grown substantially.
Yeah.
So it's more like when you need
Secure
it.
the business.
Yeah. Is it more like when you need it, you can just be like, hey man, can I get a couple kilos of this or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, there are still challenges for certain hops. Like you said, Nelson is very hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
And we do contract, but yeah, we can still just call up we got a couple people in town that sell hops locally. And then we do contract still with Yakima. But we can get hops here pretty quick.
Okay, that's good. I mean, look, the proximity for you guys to to Yakima in general is pretty damn close in comparison to everything on the East Coast. So I imagine there's probably some sort of simplicity. Does that make a difference, how close you are, or is that not a factor?
I think it's a factor. It depends. I don't know how it really works out there. I would assume that there's warehouses. They wouldn't store everything in Yakima and just ship it on drop ship. Like,
good point.
So that's the thing. Like, I mean, when we contract our hops with Yakima, we'll pull in pallets at a time of hops, and like these, it's like $10,000 a pallet of hops. So it's a huge expense.
Yeah.
Having that kind of inventory is challenging for a business, especially when they're like rapidly growing business. Cash flow is tight, and having that kind of hop inventory is a bit of a challenge, but we're figuring it out.
Okay.
We're still figuring it out.
That's like so
it's
crazy.
Like the fridge full of hops.
Yeah, right. I imagine they keep long enough.
Oh yeah.
These are like vacuum sealed, aren't they?
They're vacuum sealed, pelletized. So the pelletization is really going to sort of condense the potency and keep the freshness in there. And then the vacuum seal, we keep them in a freezer, not like minus 18. I think it's like minus 6 or 8 or something like that.
Okay.
Degrees. So yeah, no, they last a long time. They keep well.
Okay, that's not so bad.
But like the supply has caught up to the demand is really the key, right?
Okay, so that's good to know. I mean, like, because I typically would hear, like I typically hear
But
from
the specialty ones, the real kind of the romantic ones, the ones that like there are ones that are hard to get,
like Sabro and stuff. Yeah, the ones that are the trendy stuff and whatever. Okay, I mean that makes sense. I mean, so back then, so you actually opened in 2013 then?
Yeah.
Okay, mid 2013. How did you, I mean, like you were saying, I'm sort of curious about I guess the trends and how you guys would have seen those trends change over time, because you would have been like at the forefront of it. And I feel like over these last, I don't know, from 2016 through now, there's probably been the most changes as far as trends. I feel like still everyone was trying to get the most bitterness and West Coast style up until 2014, 15 type of thing. And then it kind of changed in 2016 with a bit more of the New England stuff. And then there just seems to be more trendy stuff like brewed IPAs and smoothie sours and blah, 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 all the crazy stuff. How did you guys, what were some of the trends like at the time, like around the 2013 through 2016 type of period? And did you not give in to them, but did you participate, or did you kind of just always do your own thing?
I'm trying to think of the trends, and
I mean, I think saisons were feeling kind of fresh at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, although obviously hundreds of years old, like there were not too many available.
Right.
And Brent was keen on doing a saison, and I think the first batch Brent ever brewed, like 6 weeks before we opened or whatever it was a saison. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, half of the batch went into barrels.
Yeah.
With Brettanomyces. Can't remember what strain exactly, but Brux Brettanomyces Brux, and put that in barrels for 6 to 12 months, and that became our Operis or our Brett saison. And that was, to me, that kind of like when we took that out of barrels and bottled that, conditioned it, and tried it, like sampled it, I was pretty blown away. I was like, I can't believe that's the first batch that you brewed. And to me, that was kind of like I'd tried only a couple Brett beers before that, and one was the Commons Flemish Kiss. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The Commons was a Portland brewery who we respected a lot, and Brent had a relationship with the brewer there at the time. And anyways, the Brett style was something that I wasn't really familiar with until trying that beer, and then like trying Brent's beer, and that opened up a lot of things for me. So I think we were pretty early on that, and the saisons in general. And bottle condition, putting a beer in like a fancy like 750 ml like champagne style bottle almost with a cork and a wire hood.
Yes.
So I think it wasn't really anybody doing that. We were trying to make beers that we really wanted to drink, but we also wanted to showcase some sort of like some specialty stuff that that we could separate.
Oh shit!
Look at that. That was another one, right, Brent? That was one of the early ones.
So that was brew number 18.
Wow, you remember it. That's great.
Oh yeah.
That went in barrels like early on, and I remember like it took a long time to sour.
I used too much hops, so it didn't get sour enough. So we had to actually brew a beer 2 years later and blend it in.
Okay.
And so that's a 4-year and a 2-year blended and then bottled. And that was almost 4 years ago packaged. So that beer's almost 8 years old now.
Yeah.
Shit. Adam was telling me to, because I was telling actually Adam, on New Year's Eve, I was in Toronto with Tiff, my partner's mum lives there. And we're allowed to go with COVID because she lived by herself. So we spent New Year's there, and I had a bottle, I think, of the same year that this was from, the Operis with the cork and cage.
Oh, yeah.
So we busted that out for New Year's Eve. And then I've still hung on to this one. And Adam was like, you should probably get into that soon. Just because otherwise it might get a little too old. Because I guess you don't know about the corks and how the corks hold, over time.
Yeah. And I mean, our packaging procedures have gotten way better. Back then we were just using a gravity filler, old Italian style. Now we're using like a evac automated Italian bottle filler, which is so much better. But I think that bottle is probably good. I haven't tried one of those in over a year, but I'm sure it's good, man. Last time I tried it, I was thinking it was like Coca-Cola was the flavors that I was getting on it.
Okay.
Big time.
Wow.
You were happy with that still?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I was kind of digging it.
Okay. You're right, because like you know how it goes, man. Like you get stuff and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna drink it, and just because this is like the cork and cage and like it's got this beautiful like textured label, I'm like, this feels like special occasion. Then you get lazy and you put it again. No, I can't just crack it. It's Tuesday. I can't just be drinking this thing. Like it's got to be for something.
That's the most expensive label that ever existed, I think.
Really? I'm not surprised. It's got like gold embossing.
That part, but that label is actually wood. It's wood. It's veneer.
Yo, is that why? Because it's like cracked a little bit on the back here.
Yeah, dude, that label is actually 100% wood.
Yo,
that's amazing.
Like, there's no.
You gotta stop holding these.
Yeah. Stop. What? Yeah, I know. I got to drink these shits sooner. Yo, that's crazy.
It was our 4th anniversary. We had to go all out.
Yeah, man. What did you sell that for?
We probably wouldn't do that again.
No, I can imagine not. It's probably 2025.
I think it was 11.19 wholesale, so that would land it at the store like 18 to 22.
Bucks, yeah.
18, 20.
Completely reasonable. Yeah, I traded Daniel for it, so that's why I don't know what it cost. Yo, that is so sick. Okay, yeah, it's just one of those things. You know what it's like? You get these and you just hang on to stuff, and all of a sudden you end up with a million bottles of things just sitting around. You're like, oh shit, now I need.
I mean, it's past its prime, but it's still going to be delicious.
Yes, and I enjoyed Operis for that, but I also felt like it wasn't what it. Just because of the age. I think it was what year? That would have been in 2017, 2018, something like that.
Why don't you try the Operis now?
Yes.
You want to crack that?
You want to do that before we do the IPAs? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do the Operis, man. We're talking about Operis right now.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I got the sexy glass for it. So Operis is the I'm gonna go around and grab it in a sec, but Operis is the, I guess it's like is it the original saison that you guys did, or it was the? It's sort of like
originally. So yeah, like Adam was saying, our first batch of saison went into barrels with
keep
bread
talking.
and
Yep.
bottled it. That was at that time we called it Brett Saison. We rebranded it as Operis maybe a year and a half later, and we've actually like changed the recipe a little bit. It's not just our saison. We've dialed back the bitterness. We've added a little more dextrose malt to give the Brett a little more food to chew on while sitting in barrels. But this used to be exclusively in barrels. Now it's a blend of a foeder that we Solera and then also barrels. So it's a blend. And then we also started bottling in our 4-pack package recently, which for us, like this beer, Operis is like day's work. And like, it's just like a blue collar beer. It's obviously like a little more complex than a crispy boy, but like this is just something to drink after a hard day's work. And that's kind of why we wanted to make it a more accessible format.
Yeah, we've taken some of the beers that we used to do in the 750 ml cork and cage, and we put them in a 4-pack, and they're mostly like farmhouse ales or barrel aged or foeder aged farmhouse ales. And like Brent said, just a little bit more accessible. We lowered the price point by putting it in a 4-pack, like price point per sort of liter or per serving. And you know, you can buy one 4-pack and you can trade one or two and share one or two and drink one or two. You don't have to open a bottle and have the whole thing. It's a little bit more versatile. So we put this out once or twice a year. I think sometimes about twice a year actually. Twice a year.
Okay.
And the big bottles are always around.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. We don't. It's not a large quantity batch. It's probably about, I think it's about 8,000 liters or something like that, and we put it out twice a year. So generally, because these beers, you know, everybody, and it's a little bit higher price point, they do last a little bit longer. But this, even though it has a cap,
wow,
you know, it's a little bit more accessible. Yeah.
So is this like? Would you consider this like on Untapped? Would this be Operis 2020? Or 20?
Yeah, it would be. I that's a good question. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Operis 2020.
Do we actually separate our years? I think we might. Like,
yeah, I don't think we do it, but users have.
Yeah, users do that. Yeah, so this would be Operis 2020.
So then the difference between this and the one that I had on New Year's is this is non-barrel aged. Like I heard you say the Fudo. Or is it the
same? Yeah,
same thing.
It's very much. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The wine barrels.
It's just fresh.
All right. Yeah. Honestly, I'm actually genuinely excited to be transparent. Yeah, man. I'm typically not a fan of saisons in general. Yeah, but like when there's like a certain style of them that I do like. I don't know. There's something about just the layout. I want to talk about your branding shortly because it's just exquisite and it just makes everything just such an experience. Anyway, cheers, guys.
It's really regal. Cheers.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Man.
No boost. This is what I'm talking about in a saison because it's like it's light. What is it? 6.5. Barely tastes 6.5. It's got a little bit of that chewy mouthfeel that kind of hits you on the back of the tongue. I'm getting a lot of delicate citrus, like lemon, through it. There's no phenols. I don't like bubblegum or banana tasting saisons. They don't really like work so well for me. So I like it when the best way I describe it is like the Hill Farmstead kind of style. I don't know really what you would describe it as, but this is in that. This is in that line. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
amazing.
This beer, like originally coming out of the fermenter before it goes into the foeder or the barrels, is quite like bubblegummy.
Okay,
it's got that vibe, but through the it's about 6 months. Really, it's not like a specific 6 months. We just go on taste, but sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's longer.
Right.
It definitely the Brett comes in and kind of softens that side of it, but also like brings in a new like kind of crisp, fresh aroma. And We actually, so yeah, we a little bit different than the barrel or the bottle you popped on New Year's. We actually blend in like 10% fresh saison on this now when we package, which I forgot about.
Okay.
Which makes it just a little more fresher tasting. And that's what I think, like anything in a cork and cage, people are like, oh, this is ageable. And it is, but like, I don't know, this kind of beer is best fresh, I think, even though it is ageable, but like it's got to be crisp still.
It really just the Brett character it gains complexity over the years in aging, right?
Yeah.
And like that might be what you're looking for sometimes, but this beer is great fresh, and it completely changes if you age it a few years. But
I feel like because it wasn't that long ago that I had the last one, I definitely don't recall this level of bright citrus, and I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was like it's not muted because of time, but like it's the brightness. There's like something that's super bright about this.
That's it. Yeah, that's why I think fresh is important, because it does lose its brightness.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like Adam, you were saying, like there's nothing wrong with that change, but it is really interesting to see them sort of like. It would have been actually extra interesting to do that side by side with the other one. I didn't know. I thought that was like a special annual thing that you did, as opposed to like, you know, this is actually even cooler. I prefer this because it's like this is an easy drink. What's it, 330? Yeah. This is perfect.
Way more session.
Yeah, and like because then it doesn't get you caught up in the I don't know what's the word?
Commitment. The 750.
Yeah, and I feel like, and like I said, it's great to have things that feel like an event. It really is important to have these products too, and that's why people will be willing. It's a damn tree on a label, like it's amazing. Like to keep those sort of things for an occasion and to make it feel like an occasion. But I like to be able to have something that's also just as special, but you could have it on any night, and you can just have a single to yourself and just enjoy it without having to worry about crushing a 750 or putting a little stopper in it or something like that, which is super cool. Montreal Beer Page is in the building. What's up, bro? He says, got the Edna and Pomona sitting in the cellar. Makes me want to open one of them up soon.
Nice.
What are those two beers? I'm not familiar.
So, what was it? Pomona and Edna?
Edna, yeah.
So those are both foeder aged sour fruited beers that we do. Edna's actually interesting play off of Operis. So maybe the second batch that we did of Operis, we isolated 2 barrels that were tasting really good, and we crammed in some cranberries and some like wild harvested crab apples. And so we let that condition for like a year. So we only had 2 barrels of it. So it was the crab apples gave it like a crazy like English cider profile, like real funky, definitely the funkiest beer we make. And so the first launch we only released
500 bottles.
500 bottles because there's only 2 barrels. And it was the only time like we were saying earlier, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's no one that actually like lives within walking distance of where we are. It's an industrial complex. But when we released that beer, we had a lineup. Is the first time like this is like lineups were not normal back then, and they're pretty normal now in the U.S. beer world. Not so much in
not around here. Like that was
right.
That was different.
Yeah. So I mean, we only had enough bottles for the people in line, and this was in like 2014. Anyways, I don't know. We were blown away. Like we never seen anything like it. I never tried this beer. People were just fired up, and that beer was awesome. So we've continued to make it. We've expanded upon it. We have a designated foeder that we keep on filling and doing. And the beer is awesome. It's definitely our most funky beer. It's sour. It's beautiful color from the cranberries. Nice acid profile. Really nice. And then Pomona is another one that we do. It's essentially like a Belgian wit beer without the spices.
Okay.
And then we age it for about a year in a foeder with lacto and Brett, and we let it condition a little further with apricots, whole apricots. So we just pound apricots. We leave the kernel in there, give it the flavor, and nectarines. So it's nectarines and apricots, and yeah. So the fruit gets fully fermented out. And you get a little bit of like bitter almond from the apricot pit. Yeah, super nice. Yeah, that one's good. We did another version of Pomona this past year where we did blackberry and raspberry. So same base beer, but blended it with some other fruit.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Oh,
that's so cool. I love that you guys do the Budo. Go.
That was a time, like when Brent was talking about that first batch of Edna that came out, that reminded me that back then in 2014 and 2013, 2014, like there was a lot of excitement around beers being released. There was so few new beers, there was in our kind of, in our community, in our lower mainland here. And when a new beer came out, sort of everybody knew about it because there wasn't that many. And so that was a point in time when you would release something really interesting and you put it on social media, and you literally you knew everybody was coming down that day to pick it up, and it would be gone in a day or two. And there's so many great things about having a million breweries in the mix, because there's just an infinite amount of amazing beers. But that was an interesting time, just thinking about those days when you release something occasionally and it was super special and everybody came out to get it. So it was cool.
It feels like you guys never really bought into the have to drop a new beer every week type of hype, which is cool.
No, we do release a lot of new beers, but no, you're right. We didn't build our business plan around that. We built our business plan around, like, our business model around achieving like the highest standard in quality that we could, and consistently execute those beers and consistently have really, great examples of the styles that we're trying to do continuously available, constantly available. So we kind of built our business model around having a certain amount of year-round beers available at the liquor store and at our tasting room, and then we would occasionally release something new and interesting, to build some excitement and that kind of thing, and just to appease our own desire to have something new and interesting. But no, you're right. I mean, it was mostly around year-round kind of like high quality execution, just banging out beers that we really, really wanted to, like beers that were just, beer, like, stuff that you can drink kind of every day, and just a high quality version of that. So, but we do get very experimental, and we have our barrel program, and we occasionally release like new IPAs or new, lagers and things like that. So we probably do release, I would say, a new beer every, I don't know, 2-3 weeks maybe. But not like average. Not one or two a week kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, I feel like there's got to be some room for like tweaking the recipes and perfecting the regular stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like I never really thought of it now, but I always felt, I mean, maybe because we're out here and you guys are a luxury to get hold of your stuff on the East Coast. But I feel like there was not that same pressure for a brewery like yourself. I don't know if it's in the branding where it's just this, like, elegant, like Brad said, like classy thing that people aren't expecting. Like, all right, so what's your 4 new beers this week? Like, there's I feel like there was a lot of excitement all the time whenever, even if it was like Nectarus or Juxtapose, like the IPAs that are around regularly and not necessarily difficult to get, but there was still like a high level of excitement around those beers. Did you guys find that? And I know I could be reaching a bit, but I just, like, something I sort of thought about now, like, unless I'm thinking of a time before that, because that expectation is probably a newer thing as opposed to an older thing.
It's interesting. We brewed those beers like Juxtapose and Nectarus for like year 1 for us. Like those weren't like, those are not new beers. We've been brewing those, year 1.
Right.
And but the thing that happened with those beers is that we didn't really plan on having new full-time beers when we opened, and we'd only have a certain amount of fermentation space. And we were pretty green. We didn't really know how to maximize our cellar space with brewing and scheduling and stuff. So the beers were super limited for years, only because we already committed to like draft lines of our other beers elsewhere, and like we had a real strong commitment to like not letting like restaurants down. If they put our beer on their menu, we were never going to let them run out of that beer. So Juxtapose and Nectarus for years were not really available for draft. It was only packaged product, and like only like maybe the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years, we've been able to scale those beers up and get them available like everywhere. But also to that point, like BC's got like a unique packaged product market. Like we sell our beer in 900 stores.
Yeah, I don't know. In that like
600 stores across the province.
Probably more like more like 5, 6 probably in that range. Yeah,
that's a lot.
900 to 1,000. 900 to 1,000 pounds. I think maybe what you're thinking.
Yeah,
maybe
five
or 600 liquor stores.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people buying packaged product, and I don't know, the draft game's kind of, anyways, I don't know what I'm getting at.
No, I was like, you answered the question though, because I was curious the why there was constant desire for those beers, but it sounds like there was an unintentional scarcity, which meant that they're dropping Juxtapose again. I need to make sure I grab some this time. I got to trade this dude out here. Blah blah blah. Like I feel like there was, like I feel like your stuff has always been sought after, even if it was the same beer that you've been doing for 8 years, which is weird. In the best possible way. That there's still a desire to be like, if anyone saw it, they're like, oh, let me grab that because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that again for another couple months. Type of thing. Even
it's
if
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Daniel is saying, go on.
No, you go.
He just said Juxtapose is great. Goes down a solid on draft with brunch in Vancouver. Thanks for putting it out there on draft at popular spots. Look at that. Brunch beers. I love that.
Nice.
It's very much a brunch beer. I remember when we were first we brewed that beer on a whim. Actually, fuck, I guess I should tell the story. So Kylo and I, so Kylo's our head brewer. He's pretty much the motor around here. He keeps things fucking going. Super creative dude. He's a big brain behind a lot of these beers. Not quick to take any credit. But yeah, he's a huge part of what we are. And so we kind of like we're messing around with kettle sour beers in 2013, and like kind of thought they're a little silly, but also were amazed by like the flavor. And so we kind of did some pilot batches, and we're like, fuck, this is really, really good. Balls to do like a full batch. And so we kind of just like let it go. But one day we were brewing our Saison and our boiler broke, and we had a kettle full of Saison wort with no hops in it. And so it was either dump it or try to make a sour beer with it. And so we decided it was a Friday too. So we had 3 days until we needed the brew house again. So we pitched our lacto culture, sealed it up, bubbled CO2 through it throughout the weekend, came back and super, super nice wort, boiled it off. The first like couple years Nectarus was a kettle sour. Boiled it off and fermented it out. And like that beer, we're like, okay, this beer works. And like, we weren't the first one to do anything like that, by no means, but definitely the first ones around here. And people were losing their shit for it. So the first batch was like fluke. I mean, not necessarily fluke, but a unique situation.
Happy accident.
Yeah. And so through the years, like Nectarus, I'm sure you guys are aware, has been awarded very highly in this country, and I think it's amazing. I still believe it's the standard for dry hop sour beers, but there's a point where I didn't really like it. I was like, I don't like this beer, and it was maybe a couple months after it won like Canadian Beer of the Year, and I was like, what are we going to do here? And so Kylo and I sat down, we talked about what we didn't like about it. And it was the off flavors coming from boiling a live culture. Kind of, we we just found that like that was disgusting.
Okay.
Obviously, like we were just being hypercritical, and as people making the beer, we weren't that stoked on it. So we decided from that point forward, we'd find a way to brew the beer and keep the culture alive. So now the beer is alive, like it's got live lacto in it. So not very common. I don't know a lot of breweries out there doing a dry hop sour with like a live culture in it. It's a little bit dangerous, but that's Nectarus.
So it's not it's not an IPA then.
No, I mean it's if you call it a sour IPA, it's in the same category. But for us, we never designed it that way. That was kind of something that came later. Like we saw I saw people calling this style of beer a sour IPA, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's kind of the category. But for us, it was dry hop sour. But they're kind of the same in my mind.
You always find that in line, like they're kind of much the same. Like you call it sour IPA. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this could easily have been like a kettle sour or something. But yes, I don't recall many, if any, like lacto live culture dry hop sours as opposed to a kettle sour. Like a couple, but not too much. I can think of some in the States, but not too many up here, which is great. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. That's how that came about. I did want to talk about since we keep bringing up the labels all the time, I want to like talk about the branding. Was it always this kind of really elegant thing with the gold and everything from the beginning, or did that kind of develop over time?
The gold kind of came about. Well, yeah, there was some elements of gold kind of from the beginning. There was always a classic kind of timeless vibe to it, like an ornate kind of classic vibe that kind of was juxtaposed or contrasted with like a modern kind of element to it. So it all started with a friend of ours, a friend of mine named Andy Dixon, who's he's a local artist from North Vancouver, who's like a multi-medium kind of like painter, like, you know, artist, but also a musician, just an all around like incredibly talented artistic genius, I would say. Right. And he was doing some graphic design at the time, and so when we were working on the original concept for the brewery, he was really the only person in mind for me. And so when we first got together with him, we had a meeting, we had our initial discussions, and we kind of like told him what we were thinking about doing, and it happened like really organically, but we just automatically were like, okay, he's our guy, and we just kind of trusted him, and he kind of ran with all of the information that we fed him about what the brewery is, what it's about, what we're trying to do. He originally was like, okay, well, if you were a color, like what color would you be? And we were like, well, blue, because Greg was really into the blue, and Four Winds is kind of a nautical. There's a theme to it there, and so blue is our sort of our root in the color scheme, and everything built off of that. But there was, he kind of put together something that we wanted something that was classic and timeless, but also kind of modern and cutting edge in a way. And so there was we drew from the kind of European ornateness, but also this kind of modern kind of Western culture, kind of classic, kind of modern aesthetic. So it's a real mashup, but the result is something pretty unique, I think, and classic and timeless in a lot of ways.
I love it.
You guys gotta look up Andy Dixon.
Yeah.
ASAP. He's a full-time artist now, like multimedia. Like
Andy Dixon. Let's take a look.
Take a look at him on Instagram. When growing up, I was in punk bands and just doing some really like cutting edge like music, and we were always like big fans of his music and things like that. And he was dating a girl who was my friend's sister, and so I kind of knew him like early on back in high school, and then just followed him his career and his progression. But he's become this like really like prolific, renowned artist.
Yeah.
Okay, he's verified.
Yeah, that's
all right. Oh, he's in LA. Okay.
He's in LA now, and he's just doing phenomenal work. Like, just check it out. Like, it's incredible. So he did our original branding. He did our original logo. He did our original our original labels. Up until I would say, he did everything for us up until I would say 2000 and maybe 15
maybe,
in that range.
14, 15, yeah.
And then we were fortunate. We were looking for tasting room staff, and we hired a really cool dude named Justin Longos to work in our tasting room. And at the time, he didn't know, and you know who Justin is, yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, we didn't know that he had graphic design background or an artistic background. So he was working for us in the tasting room, doing a great job holding it down, and we slowly began to get to know him better, and realized he was a great artist, and started, he started showing us some things, and we started saying, hey, why don't we work on a project together? And it was a gradual organic transition from Andy doing all of our label work and all of our brand work to Justin now doing all of our label work and all of our branding work. And so it was a cool experience. Like, it wasn't like Andy we cut ties and went in our new direction. It was real gradual. We worked together. We would run things by Andy. Justin would come up with designs. We would refine them. We would kind of try to think like, what sort of would Andy kind of do in this context, or like, so we would kind of think about where we started, where we came from, and tried to kind of build a seamless kind of bridge to our new, like our new kind of like label and design and aesthetic program. So, yeah, and Justin's done a phenomenal job. He's doing everything for us now, and I work closely with him all the time, and that's a really a great advantage and benefit that we have. We have a full-time graphic designer who does all of our design work, but also our social media. And yeah, he's in the office 20 feet from me, and so it's really nice to have that ability to have somebody who's there at all times to bounce ideas off and keep the creative flow going. So
that's really cool. What's been the difference between what Andy did and what Justin did? Was it just sort of like a progression, or was like the actual like the top logo, is that basically the same, and then it was all this newer gold?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think like Andy basically set sort of a bit of a template for us, in the sense that we decided on certain fonts, we decided on certain color palette, and just in kind of an overall, like, yeah, the logos to kind of spacing in certain parts of the text and copy on the label, just an overall design sensibility that Andy kind of laid down for us, that Justin is really kind of brought on and inherited and kept alive throughout our new stuff. So I think it's been, Justin's kind of found a way to understand what Four Winds is and how to incorporate all of that stuff in his work. Like, he's done a great job of that.
Yeah, man.
Just to keep it consistent as well.
Yeah. And it's not easy to keep things consistent when you're coming out with new beers all the time. That is a challenge that we have. Like, how do we come up with something new and unique and that can stand out, but that can also kind of be rooted in our original aesthetic and brand. And that's something that Justin's done a great job of. And that's a challenge, though. It's not easy. Like, we'll come up with something and be like, maybe that doesn't look like us, and then we'll have to go back to the drawing board and kind of go from there. But it's a challenge to figure out when you're doing all these new beers. Like, does this beer fit into an existing series? Do you replicate a label that you've already done and make some adjustments to it? Do you do something totally new? That's something that we kind of we talk about all the time, and so it's an ongoing creative challenge.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it seems like you keep the bottles, the labels of the bottles are very regal, like color wise, and it's the design, and they look extra special. They're definitely like high quality, and then like the cans look a little brighter, a little more busy, a little more fun. Is that on purpose? Like, you want to keep like the class sort of difference, I guess?
Yeah, the idea.
But
The
that's
idea
I
there
like
would be
the
that-
classiness.
Yeah, the idea there with that the classic kind of subtle kind of like high end vibe, I guess you would say, of something like this is meant to kind of resemble like what's inside the bottle, old world beer, kind of that more specialty kind of European influenced beers, you know what I mean? Whereas the cans, they might be a little bit more bold and more color blocking patterns and different things like that, and that's going to represent the what's in the can, and it's kind of a bit more of a modern, like full flavored kind of something more experimental, or IPAs, dry hop sours. And so yeah, I think it's the differentiator is what's in what's inside it. Is it an old world something beer that we're trying to convey that message on the package, or is it something new and interesting and bright and bold, and we're trying to convey that on the package?
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like now, in hindsight, I think I remember when Justin reached out to add us to the mailing list, and I feel like around that time, that's when there was probably a shift in branding. It might have been a couple of years ago. So now I think,
we've got, one thing that we have done is that we've come out with so many different beers that we tried to figure out, do these beers have a home somewhere, and are they connected to some other beers that we've made, and is there similarities, and so do they belong in a group or a series? And so one thing that kind of worked out for us is that we had our original 4 beers, and that's our original series, and that's something that we still make. And then we started making like Juxtapose and Nectarist, and they were more new world and kind of like more edgy and kind of more bold in some ways. And so we wanted the packaging to resemble that. And so that became a new series, and that was the Zephyrus series. And that's kind of based off of like, more new kind of West Coast, like hop forward beers.
right.
So that was that series, and anything that we produced that kind of resembled or fit within those characteristics, or that would wind up there. And then we also had the Ura Series, which was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, which would be something like Operis, or our Triplicity, which is a Belgian triple, or different saisons and things like that. And so those are kind of an ode or an homage to the more old world European influenced beers that you could that were barrel aged, or you could cellar and things like that. And so there became these series and these homes for these beers, and we kind of wound up with multiple series that had very different aesthetics to them, but there was some things that kind of tied them all together, and that's kind of the color palette, the font, the logos, and the placement and that kind of thing. So,
and like, just to touch on that, like what's slowly becoming like our biggest thing is the Notice series, which I don't know if it gets much like hype online, but that we talked about earlier, elementary lager. So all these beers are 4.5%. So the whole goal is that these full flavored and they're not super heavy alcohol. So elementary lager, 4.5%. We do Featherweight IPA, which is 4.5% IPA. And then we have La Maison, which is a dry hop farmhouse ale, which is exclusively dry hop with Mosaic, which is like probably my favorite beer we do. And then just today we released the 4th beer in that series that we do only in the spring and summer is Velo, which is an American pale ale, with lemon juice and zest and salt. So essentially that beer is modeled after lemon Gatorade.
I see.
Yes,
that's one of the OGs.
So
go.
So the note, like, so these are this is like our new. I mean, this isn't that new. We've been brewing these beers for 5 years. Like, what's becoming the most popular for us?
They're just beers that they're in a 6-pack of cans. They're 355 ml. They're all under 5%. They're all like 4.5%. and they're super easy drinking, but they're as flavorful as they are approachable, and they just are, like Brent said, that's kind of becoming a bit sort of our bread and butter. Like, it's like people want to take those to the beach, they want to take them camping, they want to take them to, hiking or whatever. It's very versatile. They're crushable, they're sessionable, and there's a spectrum of them in the series, and so they've gone really well for us. The Featherweight IPA is one. I think I sent that to you guys.
Oh yeah, should we do that now?
Let's do that. That's like a really easy drinking IPA. It's kind of your everyday IPA, and it's you can have more than one, so it's nice.
That's the plan. I'm gonna go grab mine.
You go see. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I love it. You tried yours the other day, Nosh, on a bike ride, right?
I did, yeah. So as you said, people have been, they like a lighter percentage option with still the flavor there. So I ride mountain bikes, and I go, now that it's winter, I'm not on the trails, but I'm riding on the bike path. And if I go on a long enough ride, I'll bring something to crush. And this is what I actually brought last week, and it's had halfway. And because it's 4.5, you can just keep pedaling, you can keep running or whatever you're doing, and it's just a really nice break. So this has a nice pocket because it's the full flavor without the sting of the alcohol. So you can take it if you're going on some sort of joy ride, whether it's exercise or just recreational, sort of just wandering. But yeah, that's I used it in that exact setting last week. So thank you.
That's exactly it, man. That's what it's all about, and I'm glad you experienced it like that, because that's what the intention is.
Yeah, I love
Sweet.
it.
Yeah, well, it's a small can too, so I can put it in my bag because I have one of those backpacks with the water bladder in it. So I put ice in that and then put the beer next to it, nice and cozy until I waist up. So it's perfect.
Nice.
Daniel's saying Featherweight is perfect for those long barbecue sessions. He's right.
There you go.
What? This is like Daniel actually sent me this Velo and the La Maison like years ago. So I tried them like when the ends looked a little different than this. What would you call? Because I haven't had this for quite some time. This is brilliant. It's like this. It's like a super tropical. Like it's kind of like a East meets West, maybe. Being that it's not like a piney bitter bomb, but it's also not a hazy juice thing either.
Yeah.
It's sort of somewhere in the middle that's just light and fruity and a pleasure to drink.
Yeah, I think.
Agreed.
I mean, my perspective is like you can't go at this alcohol percentage. You can't go West Coast all the way. It's gonna be too bitter.
Yeah.
And
it was like a kind of West Coast meets an American IPA. I felt anyway. It's kind of like that vibe.
Yeah, that's kind of where it is. Like we're not about like the clarity of this beer. It's not going to be a hazy beer, but we don't want it to be crystal clear. So it comes through a little hazy, but not in the modern hazy sense. But yeah, Mosaic, Amarillo, Simcoe kind of take the lead on this one, and yeah, we just try to give it enough body that it's not like thin, but not like too much.
It's like
nice tropical vibe.
Yeah. Sessions can kind of go either way, I find, as far as like what the amount of flavor, or if they kind of start to taste like fizzy beer flavored water type of thing. But I feel like 4.5 is like a nice. It's actually kind of ballsy for a session, arguably, but I like that. Like I feel like it's like just enough so that you've got the body and it holds the flavor, and then you've got but you can like Daniel was saying, you can crush those literally all day with no problem. And
the body's super important because otherwise, yeah.
No, so you're right, you're 100%. And also the hop combo is perfect for this. It's like just a nice middle thing. It's almost like hard to describe where this fits in this new. Back in the day, it's just it's a session IPA. You don't really like think about it. I feel like now it's like it's. So what is it? Like, is it trying to be West Coast? Is it American IPA? Is it East Coast? Like, it's like hard to put it in a box, and that's the automatic go-to as a drinker. You want to be like, well, what is it supposed to be? Like, session IPA, bro. Shut up and drink it.
Yeah,
enjoy it. Shut up.
We never get caught up with things in a box, and like we never even use the term session IPA with this beer.
Oh yeah,
we assume that Featherweight was implied. But this beer
Yeah,
is
right.
like, we also like, this is not a, I mean, it's a session IPA by design, but we don't, that term, I don't know, we never really liked that. Like calling something a session beer is a bit off.
That's true.
We're gonna come back.
May have got a froze.
They'll come back, but I think what Brent was saying is that a session IPA, calling things a session IPA, is a bit of a turn-off, and he's right.
Yeah, it has a stigma around it after a while, and I think like usually when I've had a session IPA, it's like a try-hard regular IPA, and it's lacking what we're talking about, the body. So it's like probably like, and they said that, you know, featherweight suggests that it's not exactly. I mean, if you got any sense about you, featherweight means it's not exactly going to be a serious beer, is it? So they shouldn't have. That's what I guess what he was talking about. The point he was getting to. They don't have to write session on it because it's not really worth it or necessary, because it kind of suggests that already.
Like I wonder, because it's not like an agreed upon. I mean, maybe in BJCP, but there's not like, well, from anywhere from 3 to 5% is session, and from 5 to 7 is.
It must be called.
They'll come back.
Yeah,
this happens from time to time. We're last we've been gone for an hour and a half. I only cut out once. There we go.
Yeah, so that's a decent run. That was a good run.
Got you back.
Are we
Sweet
back?
as.
We're back. It's okay. Only happened twice.
That was a good run. That was a good run.
All good. Yeah, that was a good run.
The best part is that everyone's used to podcasts with technology situations that are all obviously out of all of our control. So the patience
with the Zoom generation.
Yeah, man, the audience is fantastic because everyone gets it. Everyone knows everything to listen to. Every television network television show is done like this. So you know,
no doubt. So like talking about beer, everyone's interested in beer, but what, like, you guys have an interesting like dynamic as brothers. Like,
yes,
you guys work together. You guys work together on your marketing and your music and all that kind of stuff. Like, what's your, you know, I don't know if that's, so what do you guys get up to together? I know that you know, Craig, you make music, you rap. Brad, do you produce music, or what?
Yeah, I rap as well. I make beats, so I produce a lot of stuff for us and for other people. And I also audio engineer the music, so I'm mixing and mastering. And I've been recording us the whole time when we've been in person. But then, so we just double team it. We're both artists, but I just do more of the beats and the music. And then C's does more of the marketing and spearheading, that kind of side of it. So
cool, man.
Good balance.
I mean, I know this is a beer podcast, and we'll talk about beer, but I'm interested in that.
Interview us. Let's do it.
No, this is the point of this podcast, was to start to talk about this, because what interested me is, and when you and I spoke, we had like a quick 30, 40 minute chat, and we had like an insane amount of synchronicities in all of our life, which was kind of crazy. That I didn't know jack about Four Winds outside of the products that I just loved. So I didn't know that it was a family business, that there were two brothers, plus the third brother, plus your dad. And now I know your sister's involved in the business as well. Brad and I moved here. We gave up everything. We moved in 2010 for good, and we've been here for 10 years now. We've been working together since 2005, maybe 2006 on the music stuff. And it was just fortunate. I'm sure it's just same as you guys, that, your sibling is your friend, and that you can work on some stuff together. Because I find a lot of people say, like, man, I wish I could do that with my brother or my sister or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm certainly grateful for it, because as much as, because you're your sibling, you want to strangle each other, but we also can say some real shit to each other that you can't maybe to a business partner,
to a regular. For sure.
Like you maybe get frustrated, but it's like it passes quicker than with somebody else, because you're just used to it, because it's like what happens when you grow up together, and you just be like, and you get past it, and it's okay.
That's the thing. I think when you get mad at your sibling or whatever, it's like, it's weightless. It's gone instantly. You give them shit instantly because you don't care about their reaction, because the love's there forever.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with,
and it's probably not the first time either. Like you fight all the time. So it's like I'm seasoned at this. Let's go.
Yeah. So I mean that's not with every sibling in every family. So yeah,
No.
we're both lucky on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like
that's not common.
For sure.
Yeah, genuinely. Like I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's really cool that like, you know, that we're able to work together the same as you guys. I think it's just something. There's something about it. I think people like often admire it and appreciate it as well when family end up doing some cool stuff together. And it's lucky that we both happen to have a passion for music and that, you know, we both improved over time and got better and better at it. And, you know, we used to pay someone to mix a master and Brad, the guy didn't do a good job. And then he was just like, nah, I'm going to take care of this now. And he learnt it. And so 15 plus years later, you know, the quality speaks for itself because he's self-taught and figured it out over time. And I did the business stuff because I'm a bit more left-brained. I didn't have an interest in the production or the other stuff. And then when I did the beer stuff, I got into beer, like I was telling you guys with the 365, and Brad happened to we lived in the same house in Toronto. I lived in the basement, and my friend Scott and Brad lived in the first floor. So me and Scott were drinking, and we'd show Brad that stuff, and at first he was like, I'm not into it. But then over time, he kept trying it, and then he got into it, and then he started getting his friends into it, and so on and so forth. And then we have our social media agency. Brad got into photography, which he'd always been in photography, but then he got a camera. We all got cameras around the same time. He got good at it, so then we were able to hire him to work with our clients. So it's been cool to be able to work together on, you know, multiple projects, basically whatever. Yeah, basically everything. And just help each other grow and, you know, expand. It's cool.
So Brad, you live in Toronto?
Yeah. I live like literally like 50 meters from Godspeed, so
okay.
That's why I went there a couple of hours ago, grab a quick couple.
Very convenient.
Yeah, man, that's one of my favorite spots out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good area. It's nice. It's good fun. Lucky to be around so many fire breweries. It's like, you know, Rorschach, Godspeed, Left Field, blah blah blah. So very lucky area of Toronto.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when you guys work on music, are you sending stuff back and forth online, obviously, because you're in Montreal, right, Craig?
Yep, exactly. So we both have studios. Like we have the same studios that we bought in like 2005. So we have speakers, monitors, microphone, the whole setup, and we basically have we got different stuff, but we have the same controller, the Apollo. I know because Brad, you know, Adam's a producer as well.
Oh, gangster.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we found in common. So we have that here. So like when I did most stuff, I'll just record here. But this is an apartment, like a 1-bedroom apartment. It's not completely set up. Like in Australia, it's funny. Everything has carpet. So everything's automatically dampened a little better. Whereas here, everything has hardwood floors. So like I've got the microphone. I've got a lot of crap in this, stuff in this room to sort of soak up the sounds. And Brad gave me some, what's the stuff you gave me called? The foam shit?
I just foam
sound.
Shit, whatever, to dampen the sound.
Foam shit,
the foam shit. You give me the foam shit. So we're able to record at home. I have the reflection filter, so I'm able to do that, and we have the same logic. So, you know, I don't need the plugins because I don't even know how to work them. I just record. I know how to record. Every time it doesn't work, I'm calling like, dude, it's not working. What the fuck? And he was talking me through it.
Yeah, I'm like 24-hour technical support, and I'm here to help.
Yeah, he calms me down, and I'm like, all right, cool, thanks, man, cool. So I was just frustrated. Now I got to chill out and I'll record. So it's like it's been pretty easy.
Yeah, nice. That's a great relationship. That's cool, and that's like the blessing of modern technology too. That's pretty cool.
For sure.
Yeah, like, being remote like makes it work.
Yeah. Where are you guys from in Australia?
Melbourne.
Yeah, from Melbourne.
Uh-oh.
I haven't been to in Australia.
You haven't been to Melbourne?
No, I spent about a year in Australia.
Okay.
Sick.
This was like when I was really young, like 21 or something like that, 22. And I guess, when was that? Like 2002-ish, in that range.
Okay.
And we flew to Sydney and we bought a car. And then our plan was to drive around the perimeter of the whole country and make our way back to Sydney.
Wow.
And we pretty much did that. We went all the way up the coast, up, Brisbane and the Gold Coast and Surfers Paradise and all that, up to Cairns, and then over to Darwin, and then over to Broome, And then we spent like 3 months in Broome. We just loved it there. It was like so chill, the beaches. We camped outside like for 3 months. And then we went down the West Coast. I forget the place in the kind of the middle of the West Coast out that way.
Not Perth.
Alice Springs.
Well, we got to Perth, but above Perth. Anyway,
Okay.
one of my favorite places over in Western Australia was Carrigeni National Park.
Okay.
You probably, it's a big country. Maybe you haven't.
We haven't been out there, no.
That size enough.
Yeah, that place was unbelievable. It was really cool. And then we got to Perth, but then we were on this stretch of highway, and I was driving like in Australia. Sometimes when you're doing those big drives from city to city in some of those areas, it's like 8 hours straight, like no turn. Like it's like kind of like Canada. But like no turning, like bam, and super hot, And so I didn't realize that the temperature of the vehicle, or I guess, I don't know, I'm not a mechanic guy, so the temperature was way up, and I ended up like blowing the gasket or whatever, and like having to go off onto the side of the road in the middle of this desert. It felt like classic, yeah, total classic. And off on the side of the road, like, had my thumb out, sort of hitchhiking, and somebody eventually within the next person that came by was like an hour later. Like I was like the next car, and we tied a rope, and he pulled me into Perth, and pulled me into Perth. Or no, maybe it wasn't Perth. It was before Perth. Anyway, and so totally trashed the car, right? And then so we couldn't make it. We couldn't hit Adelaide or Melbourne because we had to fly from Perth back to Sydney. But it was quite the journey. Like it was.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
You've seen more of the country than we have, man. Like it's one of those things where
for sure.
That's amazing. I feel like whenever I speak to someone who's been to Australia, they've done something cool like that. And like where have I been? We've been to Sydney, I've been to Adelaide, Brisbane, and that's kind of about it, really. Like a few other.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
same.
we've done like mainly East Coast shit.
Yeah.
The same as me for Canada. I haven't explored the East Coast at all. Like I've been to Ontario several times, but nothing, further east, and not much in between either. So a lot of people that come here and travel see more of the country than I've seen.
Oh yeah, I mean that's right. When I lived here in 2004. So the reason why we moved here, I did at the time, I think when I just finished university, my friend was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go live in California. I've always wanted to be in the States because of hip hop," and he was like, "I'm gonna go live in Cali for like 6 months." Are you guys frozen? Are you there? Okay.
No.
Just double check.
We just look frozen.
Yeah. And I was like, because there was some sort of special visa, and he wanted to go right after I finished uni. And at the time, I had a girlfriend, and I was like, and I had other stuff going on. I was like, I can't really leave, but he kind of planted the seed. So I looked into it, and then I knew I figured out we could get this visa to live in Canada. So I got the 1-year visa. So I worked all 2003. I did music. I basically was a journalist, a hip hop. I was like one of 3 hip hop journalists in Australia during the day, like getting paid to do that. Then I'd work in a call center from 5 to 9 p.m. I come home, eat dinner. Then I go to the studio with my boy from like 10 to like 5 a.m. I did that every single day for like a year. Birthdays, everything. It didn't matter. Brad came a bunch of the time. So we would just work. We would smoke way too much weed and fucking around. But and then in 2004, when I moved to Toronto, it just blew my mind. I was doing music, but I wasn't like mad confident. And I found that like moving overseas to a city I'd never been to, and I got within like a month, I remember we stayed with my girlfriend at the time's relative, and who lived in Scarborough, just outside of Toronto, like the suburbs, and represent all day. Within a month, I remember I had 2 jobs. I worked at the beer store, funnily enough, and Jack Astor's like a restaurant chain. I had a phone full of new friends, phone numbers from new friends, and a wardrobe of new clothes. And I remember just being like, yo, I could do this. And it was just like a really big moment to just realize like moving across the world with nobody, I didn't know anyone, didn't do jack, and I could figure out a life. It just made me feel so much more confident. So after that, lived there for 7 months. I did like this was really dumb, but we were super poor, right? So we did a Greyhound 48 hours non-stop to Edmonton because I wanted to see the world's biggest shopping mall. And when I say 48 hours non-stop, I mean like they stop every 2 hours and there's no curtains. And then they'd be like, Sault Ste. Marie, and you'd wake up. So like no shower, no nothing. It was a nightmare. and then get to Edmonton. Then I took the bus again to go to Vancouver, and I think I was in Vancouver for like 6 days, and then did 10 days around the Rockies, which blew my mind. And ever since that trip, I used to go on my jogs in Melbourne and visualize running around False Creek in Vancouver. It was just one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Like that area, you can get the water taxi across to Granville Island, and Granville Island was the first brew pub I ever went to. So I've always got like, I know they're sold, but I've always got super fond memories of that place, just because I didn't understand. They had like a honey lager. I'm like, honey lager? What the fuck? On my mind. So anyway, I did that, and we went around the States for like the outside, basically what you did, but the outside of the States with a couple flights here and there, but mostly the bus all the way, not a good idea. And then Europe and stuff. So I did that for a year, and then when I came back, I was just like, I used to dream about being in Canada, usually once a month, like really vivid dreams of being here. So then when I found out, we went and did a radio tour. That was 2004. And then we did a radio tour I had a mixtape, and Notion had a mixtape that we released, and we did 5 weeks around the States and Toronto. And we just did radio, and like we recorded with people and stuff. And then when we went to Toronto, when I was flying over, I had this huge, overwhelming feeling like I need to live here. And at the time when I did the visa, you could do it once in a lifetime, and that was it. And then I checked when I got to Toronto, and they changed the visa so that you could do it in like unlimited rolling for 2 years until you're 31. So then I was like, well, that's a sign. And we went back, and then less than 2 years later, we moved over kind of for good. We moved to Toronto first. That's why Brad's there. And I met my girlfriend, Tiffany Day, who's our producer for BAOS. She's the reason this exists as well. And we run the agency together, and she's a part of everything, with basically the three of us doing all the stuff together. And I couldn't stay. Sorry for all this long-ass winded shit, but just thought I'd give you guys some context. I couldn't, because I was too old, I wasn't able to do the visa that was revolving. So I was like, we did one of those weekends in Montreal where like everything was perfect. Like every corner you turned, there was a street festival, and the sun was shining, and people were always offering to take your photo somewhere. Like it was just perfect. So she was like, yo, do you want to move to Montreal and learn French? Because that'll keep me in, because I had no real way. I saw a lawyer and everything, and there was no real way to keep me in Canada, and there was no chance I was going home. And so we moved here. I basically just stayed. And it kind of worked out. It obviously wasn't optimal to move all the way to the other side of the world, and then, well, all right, Brad, will you be there? I'd be here. But it kind of worked out good, because then we kind of divide and conquer. Like we had both provinces, and when we were touring, we were doing a bunch of touring in 2013, 14, 15. It helped a lot, because we did a lot of the bigger opportunities here in Montreal, just because I had the connects out here, smaller pond type of thing, so it was easier to kind of grow. And it's helped as well with the beer thing. So now we've got the beer stuff in both provinces, and the proximity here to Vermont. So we go to Vermont a lot, stuff like that. So that's the long ass story.
That's cool though, man. That's a cool story.
Great to hear, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you I'm glad you guys ended up in Canada. That's great. Cheers to that.
Yeah, man. Cheers to
that. Do you think we ended up? Yeah, cheers to that. You think we'd end up in BC with all the rest of the Aussies?
Yeah. I was gonna ask.
I love my surfing and mountain biking and stuff, but we ended up on the east side, so I'll have to come out and go for a downhill with you blokes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna ask if you guys are around Australians, because you've used words that Canadians typically don't use, like keen, and I imagine that you might have Australian employees / because like Vancouver and London are little Australia.
I like that word, and I like that word,
2.0.
and I like that word, and I've heard you've used that word numerous times in our conversations, and I think I picked up on that.
Okay, I love
it.
I wasn't sure. I mean, obviously you spent time there, but I wasn't sure if there was like I feel like there's just like proximity to Aussies out there a little more. Even when I went there, I couldn't believe how many Australians. It kind of annoyed me, to be honest. I was like, man, I didn't move to the other side of the world to be around you guys. Like, fuck that. I'm like,
oh man, if you Whistler, right? Like Whistler is
it's
a million Aussies in Whistler.
You know what I read?
Feel like when go ahead.
Go on. Oh, there was an article I read that nurses book Australia Day off 6 months in advance because Australians are so psycho that they injure themselves so badly that nobody wants to work in the ER on Australia Day.
What?
Yeah. It was on like Vice. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
I believe it. That's the thing.
Like, yeah.
So they just go super hard on the ski hills, you mean?
Yeah, and like they like, I love our people, but like they're just crazy. Like they get too crazy, man. Like they all have a big thing about getting nude. So they'll be like, yeah, fuck, man, we're getting nude, and they'll just like not like fully nude probably, but I imagine they'll be like excited to be in the snow because we don't
Just get
have
your
that.
gear off and jump in the
Yeah,
snow.
just go and do something dumb like I'm gonna jump off this roof. I don't know. They just seem a little. I don't align
Yeah,
with.
man.
It's like frat boys all the time.
Yeah,
All the
they're.
time. Yeah. No, I've met a lot of great like Aussies, but there was one dude that was one of my friends, a girlfriend of mine who was dating this dude for a long time. He was amazing. He was like super like entertaining and just like this super fun guy to be around. And at parties, he would do the craziest shit. But when back at our like house that we grew up at as when we were like teenagers or whatever, there came a point in time when we kind of lived there as young adults with our dad, and he came over and we had a pool in the backyard, and it was those like bubbly like pool top like covers, like the little like plastic bubbles
Yeah.
pool top. They
roll back.
up. Yeah. He was like, I bet I could run across that thing, like the length of the pool, right? Like classic what you're talking about. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. Like when you're growing up or when you grow up around pools, you know to not step in those things or jump in those things because they'll just suck you right in and
Suffocate
like you'll go right, like suffocate you, go right down. And I was like, there's no way you can do that. There's no way you can tread across that thing. Like it's too thin. You're gonna fall in the water. He fucking did it, man. He ran so fast and it was so light on his feet that he just literally skipped across the thing, like barely the whole length of the pool, like 30-foot pool, like something like that. It was incredible. And the same guy would do like backflips off our roof into the pool and stuff like that.
So that's why the is trying to bail out. Like those, I never really aligned with them. I find those dudes entertaining, but I'm like, I can't.
Sounds like an ideal candidate for Jackass or something like that. One of those shows.
Yeah. Obviously, there's like a ton of like really like well-mannered, like distinguished individuals as well. Like where's the like how come there's such a what is that all about? I don't know. You tell me.
It's a weird culture. Like I find there's like it's almost maybe we're different and weird or something, but I find that there's that culture of people, and I find those type of dudes that you're referring to, they are the funniest people you'll ever meet. Like the way they talk, I'm looking I don't know about you, bro, but like I look at them in awe. Like this is amazing. Keep talking. Like you are ridiculous.
Yeah, like that's how you live every day. Like you like that's how you are.
We make fun of that. Oh yeah, nah, fucking this guy. Nah, yeah, nah, like, all that stuff. But these guys like talk like that for real, and they use words and slang to describe things that
it's
I'm
like surfer. What?
Sort of surfer, like Bogan, like the footy dudes.
It's like jock surfer.
Yeah, they're very.
All the time.
But I loved it there though, man. I had a really great time. Beautiful country, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's super cool. It makes you appreciate it sort of being away. And we'd like to get back. Obviously, it's we were supposed to go. I don't know about if you were going to come with us, Brad. We were supposed to go about now last year, just before everything happened. But then they had the fires last year about this time, which is the only reason we hated, because it seemed like a crappy time to go back. When there's like even in Melbourne, people were sending us pictures, and they were like the skies were, covered in smoke, orange like that. Even though it was like 3-4 hours away, it was just really bad. And we're like, it seems like a pretty shitty time to go. So we were like, we'll
Some
wait.
planes weren't landing and stuff because of the smoke.
Exactly. And things were being cancelled or whatever, and the air quality wasn't great. And then we're like, it doesn't seem optimal. Mum kept talking about this coronavirus thing. I was just like, whatever. I don't know about that. Like, that's not happening. And no.
And here we fucking
And here we are. And if we wanted to go, we probably could. But they have like what Canada did. So they were Canada was copying Australia, but in like a half-ass way, where if you go, you have to pay for a 2-week stay in a government rent hotels.
Supervised hotels.
But it's like 2 Gs for the 3 weeks, where Canada's charging like damn near 2 Gs for the 3 nights that they're forcing you to do here.
Whoa.
That's what's happening in Australia right now. If you're traveling there, you still got to quarantine.
Yeah. And and then they
They have nominated hotels.
Yep, specific hotels. I think there was some, it wasn't a perfectly ran situation like the ones here where people weren't being. I saw a news report or something where people weren't being fed, like they weren't answering the phone to do room service because you're not supposed to leave the room. So then people were going to the lobby when all of them were supposed to be quarantining. So it kind of defeated the entire purpose of these hotels. This is like the Sheraton at the Toronto airport and stuff. So Australia had the Melbourne had the quarantine, the curfew. They had the curfew first. So 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. We have a curfew here right now. So it's like you can't leave the house after 8 p.m. unless I think only if you're walking your dog or you're an essential worker. That's basically it. There you couldn't. Crazy. They had the 8 p.m. thing. I think it was the same thing, but you couldn't even say during the day you wanted to go out. Like right now, I can go wherever during the day, but there they had to have a note to say if like mum was going to the specialist or something, like to a doctor or whatever, she would have to have a note from the doctor to say that's more than 5 Ks from her house that she had the thing. But they squashed it, and they had the Australian Open. They had 20,000 people in an arena, and we're sitting here. I mean, you guys at least had pubs open. Montreal, we haven't had pubs open since September, October maybe.
Oh man.
Restaurants and bars, so everything is closed. People just won't act right. So they did it right, but Australia was kind of copying New Zealand. So New Zealand did it right to begin with, and here we're still. It's not consistent across the country, and we're still doing it kind of half-assed. Yeah. So it's a bit of a shame. But at least you guys. How was it for you guys, the whole pandemic sitch?
Well, we definitely got it easier than you guys for sure, but I don't know. It's been all right.
I mean, how
fuck sucks obviously, but considering how you got a literal curfew, which is insane, and we don't have any restrictions other than you can't go hang out with friends in public. And you got to wear a mask.
What about going to people's places? Could someone
you can't have people at your house or anything like that. Okay. You're supposed. I think it's like your immediate family, and that's it basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those restrictions are in place, but people go meet friends at restaurants like they just do. Like
Well, it's the only way to keep this like our industry alive, and like I mean, this is an opinion, but I think that's kind of the model. Like they say you don't do this, but they're not like enforcing it because people are going out and meeting friends and having beers and stuff like that. And if I don't know, like I think the big problem right now, mental health. There's been a year of this, and like you guys are under curfew right now. Like how are you guys doing? Like, are you going crazy? You fucking pissed off.
What's interesting though, man? Your sentiment is accurate, but the thing about I'm probably not the person to ask because Tiff and I have been running a social media agency from home since July 2015 full time. And the only thing we did was travel for beer. So typically we'd work with tourism offices and we'd go different places, and we'd usually go to Toronto kind of every other month or something. But aside, like I haven't felt that much of a restriction. And because I'm fortunate enough to do this podcast, I have fantastic conversations, once or twice a week with this one. Brad and I have another podcast about hip hop we do every Monday night. So I feel super stimulated. And also we have these clients, we have client calls. So I don't feel so crazy, and I get, I have this much, I got all the beer I need at home. I don't feel the need to go out anywhere. We now order groceries in, so we don't really have to go to the grocery store much. I don't feel...
That's not bad, man.
But you know what? I might not realize that I'm going crazy. It could be that. It could be like I need this is sort of dumb, but it's like in Quebec... Okay, in Ontario, you guys are familiar with the beer store and the way people return empties there with the cans, bottles, and everything, right?
Yeah.
Do you have that in BC?
Yeah, but it's not so much to the liquor stores anymore. It's like return at depots.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we used to be a lot more at the liquor stores.
Okay, so you get the general point. So in Quebec, you can only bring cans back to the place that you purchased them. As you can imagine, the vast majority of things I get might not be from anywhere around here, so I don't have anywhere to take them. So we don't own a car because we're literally like in like the hipster area here. We don't really need it. So we rent a car usually once every 6 weeks or so, and we drive to just over the border in Ontario just to take the empties back because we have such an absurd amount. But it's not about getting the $50 for the empties that I obviously couldn't care about, but it's like all right, we have a car, some freedom, and I kind of enjoy that day and just driving and going on the highway and going to this place and let's check out the LCBO, see what they got. Yo, like Tiff likes the Ontario wine, a bunch of wine. And, and just doing like, let's go to like an outlet store. Do we need like some winter boots or something? Like, let's go to the Nike store or the Adidas store, some shit. Like, that's been an experience.
So you need to be that more.
Yeah, I feel like that hits the spot. And over Christmas, we came to Toronto. We didn't do jack shit in Toronto, to be honest. We basically just stayed home because everything was closed. So there's no point even going anywhere because there's nowhere to go. Even in Toronto, everything was closed. So it's, yeah. I don't feel as trapped as a lot of other people who maybe require that more in-person social thing. I feel like I don't even realize it, but just the things that I do, I'm talking to enough people.
Your business has been able to just continually do what you do, and you're fortunate that way, and not a whole lot has been interrupted. But
no.
I mean, imagine like Toronto is such a dense city for nothing to be open. Like, imagine how many how many lives does that impact? Like, it's incredible. Like, it's what a time. I'm really just obviously we're just all praying that this summer is going to bring some light to this thing, and I think hopefully we're getting somewhere. Hopefully,
I'm glad that you guys, because Daniel who's been commenting, has been keeping me up to date on how you guys are doing, and I usually check follow a Twitter account that tells me all the different provinces and how they're all doing and stuff. I just keep an eye on it. You guys have always been doing pretty well. You had a bit of a bad period there, but typically, in comparison, you've been doing well. And I don't know if it speaks to like the sensibleness, if that's a word, of the population out there or whatever. I feel like the spread it's hard to know because no one even knows. Like, if I touch a cereal box at the grocery store, am I going to get it? Like, I don't know. They still haven't figured that out. But it seems like the majority of the spread, aside from the old folks' homes and stuff, is from the in-home gatherings of people, which is probably why they're restricting it. And I think here, people are wiling out so much and aren't being controlled that's why they put the curfew in. And as much as the last thing any of us wants is the government having that much control, because it worked in Australia and I saw what my friends and family went through, and they all seem happy with the results, and they're at a sports game when we can't even go more than 3 people inside a retail store still. There's got to be something to be said there. So I'm not sure if it's just people here just don't give a shit and they just are so like, that instant gratification of going to a friend's house. And you know what it's like, man, if we're all in a room together, we'd be talking and spitting when we talk, and they'd be like, and you'd be hugging or some shit after we get drunk. And because that's what happens when you drink. And then that's probably the path that makes this continue to proliferate and spread more. So I don't know, man. It's like, there's just not enough information, and that's probably why all of us have feel this like frustration about it all, because nothing's certain. We're like, I don't know, does this help? What if we stop this? If we close schools? What about the gyms? What about the restaurants? Like, who fucking knows? No one seems to know, and then the incompetence of the governments and blah blah blah. Like, fuck.
It's just new, and we've never been through it before. So
yeah, that's really what it is, man. I'm glad that you guys are able to survive, though. I mean, I guess you've already had the packaging. You've already had stuff in packaging for forever. A lot of breweries had to pivot on the spot and be like, fuck, now we need to get a canner. We need to get the mobile canning in. The mobile canning can't come on very often, blah, 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 and had to figure out this whole thing. So I imagine that what I've heard a lot of the time is that the revenues are similar while the margins are less, because obviously the margins you're selling to particularly in BC, your model, you can sell out of your retail store, obviously, but you've got the here. I was gonna say depanneur, the depths. What do you call them? Just like the beer stores there, right?
Licensee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've always wanted to know for sure, what's the rule in BC for shipping beer? Like, can Daniel go to your website, order a case of beer, and get that shipped to his house from you?
Yeah.
They can.
Within BC, yep.
I think that is amazing. Toronto, like Ontario has that, but we don't have that here. So like, I feel like that's a big letdown for breweries out here. So it's fantastic. You guys also, Dan was telling me about the, like even with Uber Eats, so restaurants could have a bunch of your beer and they could just sell beer, wine, spirits, whatever with an order.
Yeah, they've opened that up to the hospitality sector, meaning that they can sell beer to go, and anything that they stock in the restaurant, they can sell to consumers to take away, or they can deliver it. Yeah, they've really been quite lenient with that, and they've also given hospitality, like bars and restaurants, a break on the pricing. So there used to be a split. There used to be wholesale pricing and hospitality pricing, and wholesale would get a bit of a better price than bars and restaurants would. But now everybody just gets the wholesale price. So the local government is trying to help the bars and restaurants out that way. And I think it's helping a little bit. We obviously have seen our fair share of establishments close down and not able to make it through it. But some of them are doing okay, and some of them they're hanging in there. And so we're fortunate that way. Like compared to the majority of the country, we're in pretty good shape. But it's still been rough to go through, like any place. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not optimal, but I feel like there must be some sort of element of like the cream rises to the top with breweries, like the ones that maybe are underperforming.
Yeah,
won't stick around.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many breweries have opened up in BC that it would seem like what you're saying, cream would rise to the top, where some just wouldn't make it. But I haven't heard of too many that haven't made it.
No, I was just thinking that I don't know of any that have closed in the last year.
I think the majority of them are really small, and then so they don't really do packaged product, and they're selling. They sell packaged product, but only through their establishment or through their front door, and the local communities really get behind them and they support them, and I think that has something to do with it. So they're small, they're able to sell everything through their front door, and they're able to kind of hang on. And yeah, it's been good. I'm glad to see that nobody really that I can think of hasn't made it through the pandemic, which is pretty astonishing in terms of breweries anyway.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually really amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even think of too many here that sort of went down either, to be honest. So it's a kind of like a strangely serendipitous thing where the brewing industry like, I wasn't sure. I imagine you guys were like, oh, fuck. Like, people have either lost their job. There's two kind of situations. They've either lost their jobs and they're on the CERB thing, or they're maybe more fortunate and they're either still employed, or if they're in a good industry, they just happen to be well placed, like beer labels or beer canning or something. Like, the income's going up. So I was like, oh, I wonder if maybe people are going to spend the same amount of money on beer. If maybe the hard to get beer is going to be easier to get because there won't be as many people spending money on. And I found that it's been like
the opposite.
Yeah, the hard to get beer is 10 times harder to get now. Like, it sells out like that online type of thing. Like, I feel like, I guess what I'm saying is there's an appetite for beer, particularly early on, maybe problematically so. People didn't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's
Agreed.
a pandemic. Are we going to die? What's all this about? They're like, shit, let me drink that. I don't know what else to do. People are just crushing. Good for you guys. Probably not so good for them. And then over time, I think people have regulated their intake. But I feel like the sales seem typically have done pretty well. I think some breweries have even told me their sales technically have increased in volume, but it just didn't always represent the same because of the margin thing with the packages.
Yeah, pretty much, man. That's pretty accurate. Yeah.
We fall in that category, and we see a lot of breweries that have gone like crazy busy because they got like BCL listings, and like they're just like tripling their orders, and they've grown so much in the last year, which would be crazy to deal with. But yeah, we've been pretty much flatline. I think we produced the exact same amount of beer in 2020 that we did in 2019.
But how do you feel about that?
Could be way worse, man.
At this point, we're happy with it because in last March, I remember we had like when the first, we saw the thing coming for a bit, but when the first kind of notification went out that we were going to like have to shut down essentially, or at least our retail portion, we had a company-wide meeting and it was very emotional because we had no idea what the hell was going on and what the future looked like. A few weeks, or if not a few months, where we didn't know. Like we had no idea what to expect. We didn't know if we'd make it through it. We didn't know if liquor stores were going to be open, and they got, liquor stores got deemed or breweries, I guess, got deemed essential for some reason, and we were very thankful.
We're essential.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think we were very, very anxious about what was going on early on, and we're just thankful that we are able to get through it. Like hasn't been an easy year, that's for sure, but we're here, so it's all good.
Feeling optimistic for the rest of this year, or you're not too sure how that's going to pan out?
I'm feeling super optimistic, but I'm trying to like reel my optimism back a little bit because I always feel optimistic and maybe I'll get caught, but I don't know. It looks like it's, I don't know if you guys feel over there, but in BC, it feels like things are softening and seeing like what's happening in the States and the rest of the world. It's looking like it's the beginning of the end, and that's very exciting for us because, like, I don't know, we had a great year in 2020. Like, surprisingly, like we made some huge moves in our efficiencies with our production team and our packaging team, and we learned a lot. And like we're just like eager to like get the demand of draft beer again, because that for us is like something that fell off. Like we lost 90% of our draft beer sales, which was 40% of our total sales.
Jeez.
So that's like a huge thing that we want back. And that's like, I don't know, we're super excited about making a lot of beer and making a lot of great quality beer, but like having the demand where we have to like bust our ass to keep up to it. And like we set ourselves up with efficiencies over the last year that we want to like test ourselves, and I think we're going to get the demand this year.
Yeah, we've used it. We've used the 2020 kind of, I don't know, it wasn't really a lull, but the what we went through in 2020, we've used as a period of time to get really organized and to reconsider all of our processes and our systems and everything that we do. We kind of reconsidered and reimagined everything we do, and like Brent said, we've created some new systems, some new efficiencies within the brewery. On the administrative side, we've kind of revamped our whole system, and we've used this time to kind of really hone in on what's important and making sure that we're optimally running this business to the best sort of efficiency, the best that we can possibly do. And it's been good that way. Like it's actually pretty inspiring, and it kind of took us this pandemic to step back and look at our business from kind of a bird's eye view and analyze it in a different way and see it in a different light, and realize that it's not like indestructible. Like there are ways to better what we do, and there are ways to kind of get smarter and to just to do a better job at running our business. And so that the 2020 has been good for us that way. It's allowed us to step back and re-look at our whole business. And so that's been actually really good for us.
That's good, man.
Yeah. And like, as you guys know, like our dad passed away in May, like out of the blue.
Sorry, man.
And he was here with us every day. He was our figurehead. He was our GM. He was our president. And he like pretty much ran the financial side of our business like blindly. Like Adam and I had no idea really how that side was working, and he allowed me to focus on the sales and marketing. And when he passed away, we were like, okay, let's figure out how to do all this shit. Like, how do we fucking run this business? And we brought on our sister, and we brought in some consultants and some accountants to help us out. And we're still working through it, but we're trying to figure out how to take a business that was 7 years established and how to start running it again. So it's been a huge challenge. And like Adam said, that gave us a bird's eye perspective of like how this place operates, and like we were so fixed on our responsibilities and departments that we didn't really have a full grasp of the business, because our dad was so competent and like kind of like a business guru. You just got it done very well without issue, that like he wouldn't even like fill us in on issues. And that like, so when he passed, we had to like kind of unpeel the onion and try to figure out how he was doing things, and seeing if that we could continue his systems moving forward, or if we had to create new systems. And it's been pretty intense and definitely very challenging, but we're better for it.
We learned more than ever this year, that's for sure.
I mean, that's super resilient. You guys,
2020 experience.
Yeah, man. And it was like such a terrible time. I mean, that was one thing that Adam and I connected over, was that Brad and I, his father passed away suddenly from a heart issue in 2016, and we had to run. We're here. We hadn't seen him in years, and that was really rough. We didn't have visas at the time. We didn't even know if we could get back. We had to take a 14-hour flight to Vancouver, not knowing if they were going to let us back in. So when you told me that, I was like, fuck, man. Like, there's just so many synchronicities with the music, Adam being your producer as well, and then you guys started the business, and then had an important, our dad was the same thing. He taught us, he would have been more involved in all the things that we were doing if he was around, for sure. So I absolutely feel that, and it's got to be like, it's a testament to you guys that you guys were so strong to, be able to push through in a year when, like, and at the time that he passed, it was still a lot more unknowns with the way that the world is, and then on top of that, I imagine that the funeral services would have been restricted to what you would have normally been able to do, I imagine.
Yeah, we haven't done a service because you couldn't have more than 50 people. Now you can't have a funeral, but like our dad had like a history of business and relationships in this community, that we knew that more than 100 people would be there. So we're like, let's just wait till we can.
Yeah, we had a lot of his friends reached out saying, we want to be there, and we couldn't have a service, so we still haven't. And we assumed at the time it would maybe be 6 months later, or but here we are, like
pushing a year,
like So it's it's crazy. It will still have that service. But how old was your guy's dad when he passed?
64. I think Greg was 66.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. I mean, that's the worst part. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, the heart thing always kind of scares me. Like, Dad was a big smoker, and he's like, a pack a day. He quit when he was like 40. We made him quit because we hated it when we were kids, and he put on weight afterwards, so always gave him shit for his belly and stuff. But like, he was like just a super smart guy. It reminded me a lot of what you told me, and what I was trying to find some articles to see what's going on, just to show Brad, to give him a bit more information. And I found some really touching industry people were writing some wonderful things about Greg and how important was, what sort of a titan he was in the industry. I'm like, fuck, that's just so beautiful. And it, our dad was he owned a toy shop for years and dominated that there. Then he left. I was 8 years old and told him, he got laid off from a job, and he was like, what should I do? I was like, get a toy shop, and he did it. Listen to my ass, what an idiot. And
you told him get a toy shop. You were 8 years old, and you told him get a toy shop,
and he listened, and he did it.
Yeah,
that's
legit,
incredible.
Yeah, and I always feel like Dad knew that we were meant to be entrepreneurs. I'm a terrible employee. I imagine, Brad, you are too, and I'm probably not as bad as me. I just always felt like he knew. We used to do small things like pull me aside and teach me. I got a filing cabinet right here, and he'd teach me how to file, like just small things. I feel like he kind of knew that, like, this is an inclination. He'd always like show me stuff, and every time I'd tell him about the business stuff at the time, we were only in business a year or so, almost exactly, because unfortunately he passed on my girlfriend's birthday. And I know, Adam, you told me the story about your wife's business partner passing the same day, which is insane, like unbelievable type of stuff. So just all these synchronicities. I wish that we were able to share it, because we've had a lot of big wins with our business, and the way that this beer thing that started as a stupid side project has grown to what it's become, and where it could possibly go. And I feel like, there's so many things I just want to be like, yo, how did you deal with this tax? We got hit with a crazy tax bill a few years ago, and I was like, what the fuck, he might have like been able to warn me and stuff for stuff like that. Just I don't know. I feel like I'm a little not screwed, but I feel like life would have been better if he was around. But I like your attitude that you guys are like, you've been able to bring your sister in, which is great because now there's all four of you. You've been able to come up with systems. Like when Dad passed, the first thing when we arrived, Mum didn't know she didn't know any of the stuff like of finances whatsoever. He always tried to show her. She said he always like, come here, let me show you. And she was like, no. So we had to crack his password on his Mac and then crack his password to his password docs. And my uncle was a PC guy and trying to do it all. And me and Tiff came through as Apple people. We're like, no. And we figured it out. But it's been a whole thing to get Mum comfortable being, we're not there. We're literally, if you put a pin through the globe, like that's where we are. Like it literally couldn't be further away from home. So it's been harder to support and to sort of help her through that. She's grown a lot. It's been coming up on 5 years. So it helps. The first little while it wasn't so easy. So it's definitely, you guys are fortunate that you're there. You've got the other family. I'm sure, you're there for your mum and all that type of stuff. So it makes it a little better and stuff. But yeah, it's super cool that you've been able to do it. And there's something even more beautiful that you've got the business and it's already running and already successful and it's already renowned and and you're just going to keep making it flourish because it's something that he started. So that, like, you'll never let it die. You'll never let anything happen to it because it's now has this extra layer of importance, which is
that's so accurate and so well said. That's how we feel. I think I think Brent would agree, but like we just feel so blessed to have built this business with our dad. We couldn't have done it obviously without him. We wouldn't have done it without him. But just to have the blessing that Four Winds is, like we'll be forever grateful to our dad for allowing us to pursue this and just to keep it alive and healthy is our only mission now. So
I love that, man. It's such a beautiful thing. Should we do one final beer for on that note?
Do cheers for sure.
What are you guys feeling? You guys dictate the way.
I don't know.
What are you in the mood for? What are you in the mood for, Brent? What are you saying? You're the brewmaster. You're the bus man.
I'm thinking about this bad boy.
Shit.
Oh,
Are we trying to bust the stout out right now?
I don't know. You guys could have a change of heart if you want. We can go somewhere else.
What do you guys feel?
I'm not scared.
What's the ABV on that?
A lot.
9.5.
11.5?
could be 10.
Call it 10.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Give me 1 sec.
So this is
Talk
the
about
first stout we ever brewed.
Okay.
That's an imperial stout?
Yeah. So it's modeled after Russian imperial stout, aged in. It's actually a split batch, so half the beer was aged in neutral wine barrels that were actually used for a Pilsner numerous times, and then we filled it with the stout, and then about 4 months later we brewed another batch of the stout and put it straight into Buffalo Trace barrels, and then that got a 3-month age, and then we blended the two early December or early January and packaged it up pretty recently. And we never brewed the style. We never really actually been that into the style because, like we talked about earlier, we're big on beers that we can drink regularly and kind of have a couple after work. But this is something new for us, and we're kind of blown away on how it turned out. Kylo again doing this one, being super fired up about it. He also was not like, I don't know, it's weird. We've kind of stayed away from the huge ABV beers because we don't really drink them, and like a huge philosophy for us is like we're brewing beer that we were passionate about drinking, and we decided to go on this one mostly because we're interested. I got one here. Interested in it, and just like the whole pastry stout thing and like the viscosity you get from these beers and
right.
kind of learning about this shit. So we kind of went all out and tried to figure out how to make it, but also like delicate without being too hot and giving it like really nice bourbon notes. But yeah, I mean we're pretty floored on how it turned out, and like I hope you guys enjoy it too.
That's what's up. Yeah, I'll grab that in a sec. So is it actually like a pastry stout or?
No, it's not. But like just like the trend of the pastry stout kind of the kind of excitement. Like the highest rated beers in the world are usually stouts, and I'm like, okay,
gotcha.
Well, let's maybe dabble in this.
I like that. I actually just realized I did not put this I didn't put it in the fridge.
Oh, no.
So what I was thinking, you guys crack that. Maybe just to do it, maybe should I crack this as like a side thing? I'm kind of annoyed at myself. I don't know why I didn't put this. I put all the other two bottles. I think I just forgot to grab this one. So it's 9.5, which is great. Okay, and it's did you say Buffalo Trace barrels?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So and it's like about 50% of the batch was in neutral wine barrels, and then the other was Buffalo Trace.
Okay. And this was actually like the first stout you ever did?
Yeah.
Jeez. And you went straight for the big boy, huh?
Yeah.
It's funny too. It quickly rose to our, not that we don't really follow this too much, but it quickly rose to our highest rated beer on Untapped.
Really?
So it just goes to show the excitement around this style, like Brent was talking about. And I'm actually super impressed. It's not the type of beer that I drink too often, but I don't know. It's well balanced. You get that. Like
marshmallow, coconut, vanilla.
It's got a little bit of licorice on there. Like you get that bourbon, that wood.
Such a dope label too with the metallic.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe not.
So like an unintentional pastry stout.
It's not. There's no adjuncts. This is. I mean, that's one thing we're kind of purists in the adjunct game. Like we've made beers with adjuncts in them. Don't get me wrong, but we like to keep it pretty classic.
No, I feel like that's on brand for you guys. Like well-made, exceptional, classic stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
But we'd like to be aggressive as well, but not too crazy.
No, I feel like that's always been your thing, though, is not too great. But I'm just going to Juxtapose because I realized I didn't put the bourbon barrel one in the fridge. So
true.
I'm just going to switch.
Cheeky move.
Brad.
What do you think, Brad? How's that smell?
That is intense. Straight away, it's a punch in the face of awesome. Wow.
Punch in the face of awesome. That's a testimonial, right?
God.
That's an Untapped review if I've ever heard one.
1.5. Yeah, that's amazing. It's like it pours kind of thick, not exactly motor oil, but very close. And I love how the head just kind of like bubbles up.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh my God. See, it's intense, but it's smooth. It doesn't have any like sharp, and it's fresh out the fridge. It's super cold. So usually when things are super cold, they're like sharp and yuck. So this is so far so good. It needs to get a
I'm
little
sure the
warmer,
flavors will like start to come out.
Fresh out the fridge, it's amazing.
To be honest, though, an interesting thing I've realized lately, like the more I have pastry stouts, the more I realize that I don't really like them. Like they're okay, but there's like something to be said about a straight up bourbon barrel aged imperial stout. Like it's the epitome of this stuff. It's perfect. Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
It doesn't need anything else.
No, at all.
I think like it's cool, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of pastry stouts, but I think it's cool to replicate the flavor with using that thing as your like adjunct. But drinkability is so important in beer, and if you can't drink a bottle or let alone a glass, I don't want to drink it.
Yeah, man. The cake batter thing is just it's either like I find a lot of them that do it they don't have the body to hold it. Like it needs to be literally like cake batter for it to be a thing. But then you could probably, for the amount that you guys have in your glass now, maybe that's like the max you could drink of it. But a lot of them don't seem to have it. I just find them all it's a little bit too much. But I'm appreciating the straight. I had a beer the other night from like a double. I never had them before, like a double barrel aged imperial stout.
Oh yeah,
a rye and bourbon. It was last night where I was a little bit messed up today, and it was just there's something just glorious about those beers that I feel like in a world where pastry stouts are the thing, I never really got huge into them. I just really appreciate that. I think it's dope that like that's the first thing that you guys did in the stout world.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, it worked out for us. So you're enjoying the Juxtapose Wild IPA though?
Yes. So this is this is your fave, Adam, right?
That's my favorite beer. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit strong or a little bit high ABV to be my go-to all the time. So I go to the Featherweight sometimes, but that one is my favorite beer. It's
glorious.
It's just it's unique, right? It's just got this balance between like bitter and like slightly kind of tart, that kind of wild yeast funk kind of moderately in there. It's good. I love that beer.
It's so it's a West Coast with like lactobacillus or something.
Sactois.
Yeah.
Sactois.
So, yeah, are you guys familiar with that?
Yes.
Strain?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's like, we don't really have a house strain of yeast, but that would be our house strains. So Nectaris is Sactois, Juxtapose is Sactois, La Maison, Velo.
All of that.
Yeah. So that yeast is crazy. Like I don't know how technical you want to get about it, but like
go for it.
We like we'll harvest our yeast strains like batch after batch after batch up to like 8 generations usually with our ale, and our lager is probably like 6. But Sactois is generation 1, and then we start again. We use that yeast one time. It mutates so quickly that we can't use it again. So we have to get a lab culture every time and propagate and use it again. Damn. So we're propping that yeast once a month.
Wow.
And we prop our other yeast 3 or 4 times a year.
Right. So it's a whole other situation.
Yeah.
It's just so smooth. It's incredibly smooth, this beer. The 6.5 with the funky stuff. It's almost like you can like, it's not like in your face that it's like I wouldn't call it sour by any means. Wild is definitely like that's labeled as a good word for it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
that beer,
makes it more fun too.
That one we've been fortunate enough to win a couple World Beer Cup awards with that one.
Not surprised.
It's the thing is like, the beer it's unique. Like I don't know, it doesn't fit in the West Coast category. It doesn't fit in the hazy category.
Yeah.
It's like somewhere in between. It's got like it's got some like Belgian ester to it, but then it's coupled with like some nice like hop profile to balance it in. But it also, that yeast produces a little bit of acid to give it like not quite a sour profile, but like a little, it kind of thins out the mouthfeel a little bit, the acid coming in there.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't really fit in a category. Like I don't know. I'm surprised. It won silver at the World Beer Cup twice. And I don't think we've won any other awards for it, like locally, because it doesn't really fit in categories.
What did it win for
It's not really an IPA.
Like, I guess not. Yeah. Like, what category was it in for the World Beer Cup?
So World Beer Cup, it won in 2 different categories. The first one was
American style
Brett beer, and it doesn't fit that category like now, because at the time Sactois, when we entered it, was considered a Brett strain.
Not anymore.
Now they like White Labs genetically mapped it and pulled it outside of the Brett spectrum and called it like a wild Saccharomyces strain, which is a little bizarre. But anyways, it didn't quite fit the parameters to be called Brettanomyces, but it is not quite the same as regular Saccharomyces, so it's wild Saccharomyces. So the second time it won an award was in the Belgian IPA category, which I guess it kind of fits.
I mean, I
It
get
was a
American Belgo IPA.
Was it IPA? No, it was just ale. American Belgo ale or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Anyway, like a hybrid of an American or a Belgian style ale. I think.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
Something like
I
that.
don't know.
Isn't
Strange
really.
category.
Yeah, this isn't really what that is though, at all.
I mean, it kind of is. I mean, originally the yeast would have been a Belgian yeast.
Oh yeah, so the Sact comes from Belgium. It's yeast harvested. It's harvested from Drie-Fontein in bottles.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I don't know. I typically don't like the Belgian IPAs, and this doesn't give me any of those elements that I don't like about it. I just take
it's not like the typical Belgian IPA. Yeah.
I don't like a Belgian IPA either. And I mean, we brewed one for years, and we've like kind of axed it because the combination of phenolic and dry hop is to me like disgusting now. I used to actually like it, but now I can't stand it. But I mean, there's just a subtle amount of phenolics coming from that. Sactois yeast that it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely heavier on the ester profile than most Belgian yeasts.
Okay, now you're saying it, I can get it. If you didn't say that,
like, yeah, no, the phenolic on it is like in the funk category a little bit, but not in the like spice category.
Yeah. Like I'm definitely, it definitely feels just like a West Coast IPA that's got like a little bit of Brett type of shit in it, type of thing.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And that was kind of the goal the whole time when we started brewing that beer. And then White Labs tells us it's not Brett, and we're like, what the hell?
It's Brett.
It tastes like Brett.
We used to call it a Brett IPA actually originally, and then we changed when they changed the the yeast designation. We changed it to a Wild IPA.
Yeah. The label used to say Juxtapose Brett IPA, now Wild IPA.
I like Wild.
Which I don't know.
Wild IPA is different. It sounds sicker.
Yeah, I think we're the first ones to do that. Like call a beer a Wild IPA.
Yeah, never seen it for sure.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe we weren't, but it's now pretty normal out here. Like I see it on the shelf all the time.
Love it.
Interesting. So you started a category.
Started a category.
So you mentioned that. I think that's an interesting point. I'm asking all three of you guys. Something that I noticed over the years of the beer nerdery and as you go along, when we were into it, I'm sure we all were into Belgian beers pretty heavily at one point. Doubles, triples, fucking whatever. The whole sort of like spectrum. Like looking for the West Veteran 12 or West Veteran, however you say it. How do you guys feel about all the Belgian stuff now in 2021? Like, are you guys, because you made a comment about that you're not into Belgian IPAs, and I am not, but that coincides with my distaste for triples and doubles and so on and so forth, quads or whatever. How do you guys feel about that stuff now?
Man,
Brad, you too.
Yeah, Adam, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I still really love and appreciate them. I think I don't drink them as often. Like 10 years ago, I used to go to the store looking for interesting Belgian beers, and would bring home those little like kind of stubby bottles, or you buy them one at a time or whatever, and always looking for something new and interesting. And because that's where the variety was, like 10 years ago, and I still like the complexity in those beers is so impressive sometimes. So I still really, really appreciate them. I don't drink them as often. That makes me actually want to explore that a little bit more now that you said that. My wife worked at a restaurant in Vancouver when we were first dating for 5 years called Shambar. I don't know if you guys know of that restaurant or not, but they had like sort of the best selection of Belgian beers back then, and there was a few other restaurants that kind of did it as well, but they're sort of a Belgian. The owners are Belgian. The chefs, from there, and so they imported a whole bunch of really great Belgian beer. So I explored a lot of that stuff while sitting at the bar, kind of waiting for her to finish her shift or whatever. And I loved it. But yeah, no, I don't drink it much anymore, but I still have the same like appreciation for it. I think
that's good.
I do too. I got the same appreciation. I just think like probably the same reason why you're not that down with it anymore, Craig, is like it's not that fresh when it's here.
Yeah.
Like I used to be blown away by these beers when I was younger, and now I taste them and I'm like, they're still good, but I know it's not fresh. I can tell why it's like tasting that way. But honestly, still the beer that blows my mind every single time I drink it, and it never disappoints, is Rodenbach Grand Cru.
I was about to say.
That's fire. So good.
Even more than that,
Every time.
The classic, I could drink that forever.
Yeah, and the thing, I saw a talk with the brewmaster there, and then
Rudy?
Sam Calgione. Yeah, I can't remember the dude's name. And then
Yeah,
Sam Calgione.
I had him on, actually.
Did you see that?
I didn't.
You had him on?
I had him on. Yeah, man, I got to sit with him for a couple of hours. It was crazy. I didn't know shit about the thing. He blew my mind, and he was so cool. Yeah, really cool.
Amazing. Yeah, so the one thing that like I found so amazing there, it was at a brewers conference talk. They're talking about sour beers and they're talking about their new like Rodenbach, like fruit fresh or something. Anyways, but he said they've been marketing their beer the same way for 60 years, and it's the most refreshing beer in the world is their like marketing platform. And like that's what I took from this thing. And it's like you drink it cold, you drink it warm, it's still refreshing. You take it to the beach, it gets warm, it's still going to be refreshing. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And then I like drank a bottle warm, and I'm like, it's fucking right. This is refreshing.
Wow. I think you're
and like next time.
Yeah.
Next time you get a bottle, like just maybe have one, warm it up. I don't know. Don't warm it up.
Right here. I'm looking at it now. I have one classic left. I saved it from the day we met Rudy.
Oh man,
I got a bunch, and I like the classic changed my life. Like I didn't even like Flanders Red, to be honest, before that day. We just got invited to a media day because there was this company that brought out it was classic Grand Cru and the vintage. It was like a 2017 vintage that they made just for Quebec, and they had this brunch where they paired the food like at a fancy French restaurant at like noon. I'm not a day drinker, so like there's like noon and shit, and they brought, his name was, I forgot his last name, but Rudy was the dude. He's the master brewer for that. So we're bringing him out to talk to press. We were some of the very few like beer press. Everyone else they brought out were like the Montreal Gazette and like stuff like that, like, you know, newspapers. So I sat right next to him for some reason at the table, and he was like lost his mind at the pairing of the food with his beers. And then later that evening, I got to sit down and interview him, and he seemed to really appreciate the questions because I guess I came at him in a different way than probably what he was used to for this like tour. I'm sure he was exhausted of the same shit all the time, but I didn't like it. And now after that, that was end of 2019. Since then, I've been like about Flanders Red. So that's the only Belgian style that I would like lose my shit over. If I see a Flanders Red and it's local, I'm here for it because of Rodenbach. Because it's just so exceptional. It really genuinely is. The rest of it, now the way hearing you guys just talk about it, I feel like I need to revisit in a you know what I'm saying, in a situation where it was like where it's like properly served and talked about or something, like romance it a bit for me or something, you know, like make it exciting. I remember back in the day there was, did you guys ever had West Perrin 12 or West Veteran, however you say it?
Yeah.
I don't know she had
I've only had it a couple times, but yeah.
Same. I remember when that first came out, I was doing the 365, and we worked, Tiff and I, when I met my girlfriend, I was working at the Apple store in Toronto, and a dude who worked there was like, he knew I did the beer thing. He's like, yeah, you tried this beer? And he showed me on Wikipedia, and I'm like, I don't know. So they got it at this cafe, it's $40 for like a 330 ml size, and I'm like, all right, why not? So I split it with a friend, and I had lost my mind in a way I don't know if I've even lost my mind since. And it was just so incredible trying that beer. And then my friend Scott, who used to co-host it with me, bought, I don't know if it happened in BC, but they released these 6-packs that had...
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Wasn't the same. Wasn't the same beer. It was, I don't know what the difference was, if it wasn't aged as much. They were rushing it out to supply the market because they needed money or something. I think that's why they did it. Definitely didn't hit the same, but there was this period where just Belgian beers were just... I worked at a bar called Beer Market briefly for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months as a bar back or whatever, and like learning about it. They were teaching me about it, and there I was like, all right, sick. And they were showing me all the different stuff, and there was 2011, 2012. So I was like super into it, but I feel like there was nothing else to even compete with it. There was nothing more interesting than Belgian beers, arguably, because it was English or Belgian. American beers were Sierra Nevada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was it. And like that's all we had as Canadian consumers was Belgian beer.
Yeah.
And I think Canada was like one of their biggest markets. Like Belgian exporters, like Canada was like probably number 2 or 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Like we a lot of Belgian beer. Like we go to BCL, the like liquor store in BC back then in like 2010 or like 2004 to 2015, like that 10-year gap or whatever. There was a huge selection of Belgian beers, and like Rotobock Grand Cru used to be $2. I remember buying it for $2 a bottle.
Like this size?
That's wild.
Yeah, the 330 mil.
330?
Yeah. I remember buying that and like triple Carmelite and like a Saint Bernardus. All those beers were like under $3.
Oh, I remember those.
And now they're like $5 a piece. And like, but we don't get fucking BC that much anymore. We get the classic, I guess, every now and then. But like the Grand Cru is just on another level.
I always felt like
but the other beer, the other beer that I mean, I got a lot of love for the Belgian beers, but the beer that, I don't know, I can't pick and choose, but Rodenbach is probably number 1. But number 2, which is sometimes slides into number 1 real quick, is Orval.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's been a while since
which all
try that.
To be available at our government store for like $3 a bottle, and now I can't find it at all.
Really?
And like that beer. So that beer was on another level because it was like the first dry hop Brett beer ever. They were dry hopping that beer in like the 60s, I think, or the 70s. And I could be just talking shit, but I think that's how long they've been doing that. And it's just like the yeast strain, it's got Brett. So like the complexities fresh, and like years later, it's like the most dynamic beer I've tried from like fresh to like years later, and like nothing like it. People try to replicate it. We've tried, and I mean, we just can't. I mean, we're not going to try to copy their beer. We tried making something similar, and just respect it.
Yeah, man. Fuck, I haven't had that shit for ages. Nosh, how do you feel about Belgian beers?
Belgians?
Yeah.
Good, man. Like, we started on Chimay and all the St. Bernard joints at the LCBO we could find. So I've gone, that was, the base point. And then, like, they're okay. And then I just, was developing my palate and stuff. So I had to kind of get around. And then, Delirium and all that kind of stuff, like, came into my life. And I've gone to multiple beer festivals at this point. And then, trading with some friends, and you'd send me shit. And so then, there's been a lull for a couple of years, but then I got a few packs of Belgian and Trappist styles in the mail and for photos. And in the last few months, or the last month, I was like, maybe I should go back to all those. So it's good to have a break from them. But yeah, started off fairly basic, and then the new ones, like the doubles and the triples and the quads, I don't know, they just seem, I guess my palate's advanced from when I first tried them, so I'm feeling better about getting them again. It's like a rediscovery and an extra level of appreciation now. So yeah, it's good to have a bit of a break from a style. Like I remember, we were obsessed with all the double dry hop fucking haze bombs you could get your hands on. And then we went through a resurgence of all the crispy boy lagers and dry hop pilsners and other stuff we can try to get our hands on. So yeah, variety is a spice of life, and everything comes through at the right time, I guess. But like, I'm actually getting real touched off this stout. I can't front. I'm actually like right now, I'm just like, oh geez. So
put a little bottle stopper in that one, mate.
It's fucking. This is my dessert. This is like all of my ice cream.
No ice cream.
This is the whole thing. No ice cream for me, buddy. Just straight stout. But yeah, Belgians really like. Now that my palate's caught up and more advanced, I'm ready to take on the bigger stuff. And in the last month, having those new ones was just like, oh, okay, I'm ready to dive deeper. Because it's not a style that I often just go to or come across. So it's good to rediscover again.
So it sounds like all of y'all are saying the same thing with that. Like, it's when it comes back to it, you're like, oh wow, like this holds up over time. Yeah, so maybe that's really what it is, and I maybe I haven't given it the time that it deserves to do it. Aside from Rodenbach, which I've been sitting on that bottle for a couple of years, just because I don't drink it. Like, I don't know if I can. I'm sure I can get it again. I just don't know where to find it. And
did we have one at Christmas last year, Steve?
We had.
Didn't we share something?
Correct.
The red one?
The year before.
Year before.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a memorable glass.
Ooh.
The Flanders red.
Yeah, that stuff.
So this one,
yes.
This one here. Did you? I don't know if you guys have tried this one yet.
Not yet.
We sent it to you.
Yeah,
I did not yet. No.
Apricity is. I mean, it's a sour ale aged in foeders, blended with barrels. I imagine, and it's not a Flanders by any means, but it's in that vein, and we're really, really proud of it. I mean, if we were to crack another, that would be the one, but I don't know if we're going to go there. But that one to me is one of the best sours we've made, and it's Brent. You should.
So yeah, like
yeah,
I mean, by all means, this was modeled after a Flanders red.
Really
nice.
Okay.
But we got so much respect for that style that we were like, there's no way we can call it a Flanders red ale.
Yeah.
So this is like, I mean, this has happened to us a couple times where and that quadrennial that you pulled up earlier, we brew these beers, put them into foeder barrels, and we're like, hey, they're just not really hitting the spot, but there's like great characteristics about it. So we give it time, and then we're like, hey, it's not going to get there. So we brew another batch to kind of fill the gap. And so that's what happened here. So we brewed a Flanders red in 2017, I think. Could have been late 17, early 2018. And it wasn't getting sour. Same kind of problem with quadrennial. So we brewed another batch 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and kind of met it in the middle. And then we blended them together, and they tasted good, but they're still missing a couple things. So Kylo just to give you a heads up, Kylo's background is he's a chef, like an incredible chef, probably the best chef I've eaten food from. Like the guy just he could be running a 5-star restaurant, like creating food like anywhere in the world if he wasn't here. Like I think he's got that potential as far as like his palate and design of beers. So his idea was like, okay, let's make this what we want it to be. He's like, let's get some Italian plums in there and let's age it on some sugar maple. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, this beer tastes good. I'm cool with getting some plums in there. I think that would benefit it. But he's like, no, plums, some maple wood, and he's like, and maple sugar or maple syrup. And I was like, all right, man, I trust you. So we got plums in there. We put in, so it was Asian oak foeders, pulled it out into stainless, and we got maple spirals. So this is like a product that brewers can get and winemakers can get. It's like a spiral of wood. They're 4 feet long. They have like the same surface contact of like 4 of them combined have the same surface contact of a barrel. So it gives you like a wood profile without aging it in a barrel. So we added that to the beer, like a lot of it, and it wasn't cheap. And it instantly like gave it like a maple syrup flavor, which I was blown away by. Like the wood didn't smell very unique, but yeah, it gave it a maple syrup flavor. And then from there, we added like some Quebec maple syrup to give it a little more like depth of sweetness, because I find those traditional Flanders reds quite sweet paired with that acid. So yeah, I mean, after all that like kind of chef work, so to say, like this beer turned out fucking incredible, and it's the closest thing I've tasted outside of like a Belgian Flanders. That's a Belgian Flanders, but yeah, it took maple syrup. It took plums. It took maple wood to get there. But it's fucking cool.
It's really cool.
It's insane. What the name too.
The name is the word literally means
the warmth
of a winter's
sun.
Of a cold day, yeah. I remember that, yeah.
And
reading that shit, like, cool.
Decided to put
That's inspired me for the photos for it. I'm gonna take like a warm shot when it's like freezing outside, but it's warm. Figure that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We just like normally this is the type of beer that you'd put in a bottle with a cork in it, but we decided to put it in a can because we want to try to get this type of beer that we're so proud of in more people's hands. And so we decided to kind of put it in a 4-pack, put it in a can, lower the price point a little bit, and make it more accessible so more people are able to, pick it up, give it a try. Those 750 ml bottles, they do great for us, but they're not for everybody. So we figured more people will.
You've gone for that similar kind of regal artwork and branding, like on the Operis as well, because you've got the circle sort of insignia. It screams that quality and top tierness from your bottle range. So that kind of fits. I like that.
Exactly.
Talking about it so much.
Look at you, bloke. Right after the stout, it's like back into it. Look at you. You guys are animals.
I love it.
It's only 9 o'clock.
I love
guys.
Oh, that's true. It's early days.
Just my first time out in a year.
No, man, this is glorious. A couple comments from Daniel.
I'll be doing this for breakfast tomorrow. It's going to take me so long to finish.
No doubt.
It's what's the word? Luxurious is what it is. God damn it.
Yes.
Dan says he's not a huge fan of Sac. This is back to the Juxtapose. I'm not a huge fan of Sactois IPAs, but your IPA balances it so perfectly. You damn right it does. I mean, I am like loving this. This is glorious. And he also says,
Thank you, Daniel.
Shouts to Daggerard Brewing for keeping the BC Belgian vibe strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, she told me about those dudes and stuff. Okay, so that's the color of it. I wasn't sure what color. Can you hold it up a bit?
So it's kind of like brownie red.
Yeah.
It's little. Okay. It's pretty much like Rodenbach. It looks like Rodenbach.
Yeah. Okay. That's killer, man. Wicked head too on it. I love that you guys got the fooders going on. It's just, I don't know. There's something that's so on brand with what you guys do. You guys are so consistently on brand from your merch. Like even the hat you got to Adam is fire. And I've seen the shirts and hoodies and stuff. The shit is just fire. From the way that the brew pub is presented to I've seen pictures of the menu to like now I'm looking at a handful of like half a dozen beers right in front of me. Juxtapose, Featherweight, Operis, the Hüft Gold, the stout, the quadrennial, like all of these beers is just like consistency and branding and just the quality of what's going on. It's just glorious. This is why almost like it's annoying to be out here and not being able to get hands on your stuff all the time. It's just fantastic. And as like marketers, like I'm always very, very impressed with breweries that pay deep attention to those small things, because small things matter. They really genuinely
just means quality overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like that is who you are.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I think like for us, it's important to portray like the same level of quality on the outside that we feel is on the inside, and like the same attention to detail, and to really show that we're investing in not only what we're putting on the inside, but how we're showcasing it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of
it's got to be a mirror of what's in the inside.
Yeah.
And like as much as we would like to admit or like to think people don't judge a book by cover, but they always do.
They do.
It's inevitable.
Everybody does.
And also you want to represent what's inside. Like this is looking fancy as fuck. And like
it is.
Like, but this is like, let's go to the park. Sorry, where am I?
There you go.
Yeah, let's go
to the park and drink a few. Let's go to the park and crush.
Yeah, these are just chill.
Put them in your pocket. Let's go.
I mean, it's good to hear the continuity in the brand is there, because I mean I know Adam and I talk about how sometimes it doesn't seem like it's always coming from the same brewery, but if you guys are seeing that, I mean that's important.
Yeah, it's important. Like we feel, it's hopefully there's a thread that connects them all. You know, even though that there's some major differentiators between some of these brands.
Yeah, I mean, even just look, you're looking at, you got things like this that are like you were saying with this, it's got the bold colors and sort of these other patterns on here that kind of reflects, like you said, what's inside it. The chill thing here, this is like just interesting. You got the blue that's consistent.
Fun.
And then you kind of go into the more like, it's just funny enough, these all sit next to each other, and you got like the gold. Gold does always represent something regal and a bit more of an experience. I was sort of like, as I was drinking this, the more and more, it's just like, fuck, I was just looking at it. I didn't really say, because you guys were talking about some good shit. I didn't want to interrupt, but I just kept drinking. I was like, every sip, it's like something about like lagers and pilsners that just like,
Makes sense.
oh, it just make me just lose my shit. I fucking love them so much. And like this was giving me that every sip, I'm just like, oh, like I just wanted to just shake and say something. But like that's the same. And then I'm looking at, it's just funny because I happen to have 6 beers here that are all aligned. And then these two, I got this one. Right? This way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like on the you see it's not even intentional, but I happen to have 6 of your products sitting right here, and these are I'm being able to pair them all up together without even trying, and match them up. So yes, I think you guys are exactly. You guys are doing a better job than you imagine. I guess it's harder. I completely understand from your perspective, because you're 24/7. This is what we are. We're living, breathing, eating this stuff, and it's hard to sometimes look at it from an outsider perspective. And there's just a way that your products make us, like, I guess I'm going to speak for Brad too, like make us feel. It's always been like something that's sought out, that's like super quality, that is like, wow, I got some forwards, fuck. Like it was always like a big deal to get.
Always a deal.
Yeah, to get hold of your stuff, and even now, it's like I hope people in BC feel the same way, and I imagine they do. I know we're out here, so there's a distance thing. So if it's like a beer festival, or I traded like Dan or a friend or something. I always had a couple people out in BC that I always sort of traded with here and there, just to try and keep me up on game to what you guys are doing, because it's such an exceptional scene out there. And I just feel like you guys were always like a part of those things. It was pretty much, I don't think I ever had a trade where someone didn't send me some 4 wins. So I think it's like a real test into what you guys have created, intentionally, but you probably don't, maybe don't realize that because you're just so deep in it. You might not have that contact with the people all the time, losing their mind. You know what I mean? Like it's just very cool.
Yeah, no, the whole trade thing trips me out. Like I respect it so much, but like I understand it, but I like not a part of it. So I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I remember the first time I saw like someone, I used to like be real glued to our Instagram and our Twitter, and like I don't look at it too much anymore. But I remember seeing people in like Florida drinking our beers. I'm like, what the fuck? How are they getting our beers? And like,
oh, that's sick. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing,
Wow.
yeah.
Blows my mind. And I'm like, man, we're literally just dudes brewing beer that we want to drink. And like, we're lucky enough to have a market that buys our product here.
Yeah.
And then those people that buy it are like, this is fucking good. Let's get it to other people. Like, man, this industry is so crazy. Like, imagine any other industry where it's like promoted by the consumer as much as beer. Like, it doesn't exist.
We'd all be set.
Yeah. I feel like we're so hyper focused on. Yeah, I feel like we're so hyper focused on creating the beer, ensuring that the quality is there, packaging it, seeing it through the whole way, and then seeing it out the door, distributing it, getting it to the liquor stores and the bars and the restaurants. And then once it's there, we kind of like, you kind of let it be.
That's it. It's gone.
Then it's gone. We don't really spend too much time thinking about like, once in a while you get a little bit like reflective, and you start thinking about like, oh, who could be enjoying the beer or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's hundreds of thousands and millions of beers that are being consumed, and it's amazing to think about all the different people that you're touching and all the different experiences that you're enhancing and all the different types of people that are talking about these beers and sharing these beers. And so we're just like, honestly, we're so like
blown away
and grateful and just humbled that you guys even appreciate us, which you're speaking. So it's amazing. Thank you very much.
It is fucking crazy.
So sick.
It's such a pleasure. It's yeah, man. It's a fascinating world when you really. I guess I didn't really think of it from your perspective, as far as like, this product that we created. That
You're creating experiences.
Yeah.
Or you're part of creating it.
That's it.
That's one of our core values. Really, is like, it's we're making it's an endless and continuous endeavor into like quality and all those types of things, but also just enhancing the social experiences of the people who are enjoying the beer. That's kind of what we're here to do, right? We're here to enhance that experience.
Yeah, and it's go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to continue on, please.
I was going to say, to continue with what Adam said, we're so thick into it every day. We're like, we're running a fucking brewery. It's like there's challenges every day, and there's reflect on what we're actually doing, and to like have this time to talk to you guys, and you guys appreciate some of the things we do, and now thinking about that like on a magnitude is like pretty awesome. Like, dude, I'm just helping these. Like, I'm not brewing regularly anymore. I'm helping these guys that are brewing regularly. And like now just having that perspective, like this beer might go into someone's hand, fucking
change their whole day.
Yeah, like it's so important to think about. All this work we're putting in is an Adam's word of enhancing experiences is so true. Like, I mean, we're not here to get like people fucking drunk, even though it's a byproduct of what we're doing. It's an experience. Like, it's pretty cool.
Flavor journey.
It's been a long year, and it's been a while since I've had that reflection. So thank you for allowing us to get there tonight.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you,
man. Such a pleasure. This is like the beauty, I guess, of this, right? To like, I know a lot of brewers tell me like I don't really drink my own stuff too much, and like a part of this podcast is to drink your own stuff so we can all talk about it. And then people say like, yo, it's actually kind of nice to sit down and like think about this beer and then talk about it, and then have that opportunity to reflect. And that's, I'm really glad to hear that, man, because that's really a part of it's almost like the accidental benefit of doing this, because really we're doing this, we want to tell the stories of the people behind the beer. And when I connected with Adam and found out that the way that you guys came out, I was just like this is even more perfect than I could have imagined it to be for this brand that I've been in love with. I put it in a song that is coming out soon from my album that I just right, Requiem and one of my favorite songs.
What's the bar?
It's on Wax officially.
What is it? What's the bar? It's off Too Hungover. A song called Too Hungover, and it's me, Brad, and this singer called Dave Archer, and it's just kind of like Maxwell. Remember the Maxwell from like
I remember that.
So like it sort of sounds like his first album, like with the real like sexy bass line. Fuck, what's
it's a
the
sexy song for sure.
I said something like Off of Bellwoods and Four Winds. Like
Off of Bellwoods and
and it's like
Bellwoods and Four Winds.
And it's like a four.
And then it forwards into a sex line, which we won't talk about. But like you basically having good beer and having good sex is what I think the sum up of the line is.
Yeah, because when that song, that was 2017, but like it was just unfortunate it takes forever with music, as like it's a nightmare. But it's getting there, and that when I guess I wrote it we wrote it in the studio in 2017. I remember actually, because we had that beat and we brought the singer in and we all wrote it together. That's what I was vibing. Yeah, so I must have just gotten some of your stuff, and I was vibing. I wanted to make sure I repped for it. It was supposed to be like I'm having a good night with this chick, so I'm drinking the best stuff. So it was Bellwoods and Four
from across the country. And like some elite shit.
Yes, exactly. And I just saw today. No, I was looking up to look for a photo for the promo piece, and I remember it was called Cityamism. It was the collab you guys did with Bellwoods with the guava.
Yeah.
Like that was like, you know what I'm saying? Because this was when I discovered Bellwood. I used to live down the road from Bellwoods in Toronto when they opened in 2012. Like I moved to Montreal. Like
we were neighbors with Luke for a while. Yeah. We didn't even know.
So we went to Bellwoods the first week they opened, and it was cool. They were doing some Belgian shit, funnily enough, and like they had Boy, they had a few other things. It was cool. And then I left, and I didn't really bother to. It didn't blow my mind. I was like, convenient, but now I'm moving to Montreal. Well, goddamn it. And then when I went back, and then I realized what they were doing, it was kind of in 2017. It was really a big year for me because they blew my mind, and then they were doing. That's when they did Woodstock in that September. They did the collab with you guys, and they were doing all these things that no one else were doing. And I feel like they were a big part of introducing a lot of the East Coast to people like yourselves. They were collabing with Dunham out in Quebec, and I can't even remember. But they were just doing. I think they did the Trillium collab with Cutting Bells. Yeah.
They didn't even win, and like Green, whatever those IPA guys in New York are called.
Oh, not Other Half.
Other Half.
Oh, that Other Half. Yeah.
No.
Other half. Yeah.
They were doing a whole bunch of things like that, and they were really a pivotal part of introducing because they were at the forefront of the haze and doing the milk shark and all the milkshake IPAs and all that crazy stuff. And so if Bellwoods work with somebody like, they were like, this is a cosign. So I think around the same time as Dan was saying,
exactly what it was.
Your stuff, you guys were collabing with them. So I was already excited to get BC stuff. And Dan was like, yo, you need to try this for winch. I'm pretty sure that's how I got put onto it. And then seeing the collab with Bellwoods was kind of like a extra cosign. I was like, that's all I need to see. These guys are the shit. Like this is the BC gods. That's it. That's all that matters. And that's man. And that's really what it was at the time. Like I know, I had Juxtapose, I had Featherweight, a couple other, like I guess I had Nectarus, and maybe that was and like Velo, Maison, stuff like that, like the canned stuff. And he sent me some of the, that's why I still have that quadrennial because I've been a lazy shit. But like, it was just, it's like an interesting way when you see the way that people are introduced to the stuff. And that impression never left me. Like it's still how I felt. And that's how excited I was when we connected, Adam, that I was just like, oh shit. Like when it said co-founder of Form, I fuck off. And I immediately was just like, even if we didn't do the podcast, I just wanted to say, hey man, I love your shit. Like it was really important to me just to tell you that. So I was just really stoked that you guys would even have the time, give us the time to do this. I'm genuinely appreciative, and it's,
this is fucking awesome. Anytime, man.
Yeah,
man.
We feel the same. We feel the same way, dude. Like we've been following you. You must have known that we would follow you too. Like I think we like your shit all the time.
Yeah, I see it, but I guess you don't realize like if it's like someone just like scrolling and scroll tap, type of thing. But yes.
No, we've been aware of you and been kind of quietly following what you guys are up to as well, man. And we're fans, so we're stoked to be talking to you today.
No, I love it.
That's super
this is really what it's all about as well. And when I found that your story was so similar, and we had so many like synchronicities across the board, I was like, it's just beautiful timing to be able to talk to you guys. And I really hope that a lot of the people watching, I know we probably don't have a following in Vancouver like we do in the East, but that's the point. Is that I want all the people out here, like Quebec, Ontario, wherever else, like to like find a friend in Vancouver and trade for this shit like immediately.
Yeah, trying to blend the borders a bit.
Yeah, I think it's really important because like the Canadian craft beer scene is a wonderful thing, and there's some really great stuff going on between the three main, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, that are the three key scenes, arguably, in the country. Doing the most progressive stuff, and the fact that you guys are now doing this Ontario pack, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. Like and
grateful for that.
Yeah, it's just I think it's the future of Canadian craft beer. Like it really has to be that collaboration. You guys have been at the forefront of doing that for years out here. And really making those, like you were saying, you've been to Ontario a bunch, maybe you haven't been anywhere else, but you've been there and you've made those connections felt to the point where you're able to collaborate with four of arguably some of the best breweries in the province on this new pack, which is amazing.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like you're trying to create relationships, but also kind of learn from each other and just see what other people are up to. And it's the same spirit. The brew, like actually brewing the beer and creating the products, is kind of the same spirit as like, you know, consuming the products and exploring the different breweries and the different styles and sharing them with your friends. It's all about seeing what's new and what other people are up to and what other people are doing and just connecting. And that's kind of the whole general vibe of the craft beer scene. And whether you're a producer, like a manufacturer, or a consumer, it's kind of the same spirit, I think. You know?
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's
you guys know that Canadian Brewing Awards are in Quebec City this year, and they're still planning on doing it.
Are they really in May?
In September.
Good luck with that.
It's not going to happen.
I'm optimistic. Yeah,
Doesn't look
man.
like it's gonna happen. No.
The only, do you know what's really interesting? Like last year, so when shit was chill, there was, I guess, I don't know if you guys are familiar. Basically, Montreal was the Florida of Canada. Like it was shit. It was a mess out here, right? That's why the fuck we never left home. People are crazy out here. They really enjoy people's company, so they were wilding. There was a period where things were pretty chill, maybe 50 cases a day. It was looking pretty good. So it was late August, and we did a collaboration with the Quebec City Tourism Office. So we went out there because at the time they had, in the whole, out of all of their population, they had like 1,200 cases or something. It was super low. And then we went on. No, that was Gaspé. Then we went to like deep east Quebec, and that was 200 cases in Gaspé, which is like the Arsène where Orval is. So we went out there. That was super fun. But in Quebec City, we went to a brewery called Noctem. Mad cool dudes. You guys would love them too. They do like a whole bunch of fun stuff. And dude was like, yo, shit's about to get real here. He's like, there's a right-wing radio station that a lot of people listen to that's really pushing anti-mask things, and it's about to fuck this place up.
Okay.
And then not too long afterwards, all of their cases went to close to as bad as Montreal levels. And they're improving a little bit quicker than us because they have a smaller population. But that movement of that sort of anti-mask thing has sort of slowed their progress down. So I'm not incredibly confident that they would get rid of it to the point in September where they would. I mean, look, man, hopefully, I don't want to be pessimistic in any shape or form. I don't know how much faith I have based on what I saw last year. I hope that things are going down, so it's a good sign. But to actually have a conference where there's...
Yeah, I know it's a bit early, but I'm hopeful.
Would you guys go for it?
I don't know if I can go. I'll have like a newborn son and a 2-year-old daughter, so it might be hard for me. But we'll send somebody. Kylo will go for sure. Kylo,
you risk it.
Maybe Adam.
Adam will risk the.
I mean, oh yeah, I wouldn't be worried about infection by any means, but it would just be time away.
Yeah, that's true. I guess and that's really what you guys have to think about. Yeah. So it'd be interesting if it does happen. I mean, you know, I wonder if it does go down. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I hope, at least I hope out here.
If it was in BC and they were saying it was going to happen at that time, I might be like, yeah, maybe. But considering how locked down you guys are out there, I'm kind of skeptical that could happen that quickly. But we'll see. It
is improving. I'm not going to lie. Like, the good thing about the curfew, once again, I'm not here for government overreach, I guess, but it went from like 3,500 cases a day in Montreal, at least, to like, I think we're at somewhere between 600 and 800 now. So that's a good sign, right? Like, it's definitely going down significantly. So I haven't checked Quebec City to see if they're a little more intense. And when I'm saying, I shouldn't say Montreal, I'm saying Quebec, period. That's actually a privilege, that, not a city. So, like, actually, if you look at in the numbers, it's probably not important because the infection doesn't really travel like that or whatever, but yeah, I feel like because it would require a lot of hotels and a lot of they have smaller workshops. So how would they space people out? I don't know. That's the only thing. But I know it's probably important to go there to network for you guys. Like those networking opportunities probably are pretty key.
I don't know. It's not that like crucial to business. It's just like it's just nice.
A good look.
Part of the industry. It's part of the industry. It's like we miss that. Like we have a lot of a lot of friends in the industry and a lot of great relationships that we've kind of established, and those are the only times you see them, or once or twice a year at these events. And so we've kind of definitely lost that touch with some people. I was just thinking about certain people that I know from Ontario that we haven't seen in a couple of years because we haven't gone to the regular events and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think we miss that, and we're not gonna say. I don't know. I'm not advocating for something that would not be safe, but if it is safe and it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll just deal with it.
What did they do last year? Virtual. How was that?
Yeah. I think it was fine. I think I can't quite remember it. I watched it, but I can't remember. It seemed all right. I think Cass hosted it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was
chill.
Did what it needed to do. Okay. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure like by this sort of summer, people are probably hoping that we're going to have more openings and more shit like this to be able to kick off. I can't imagine beer festivals being a thing this year, but
maybe not.
Yeah, you guys, I guess, are probably not going to happen either.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I saw a headline today that Bonnie Henry, who is our like chief medical officer, she's saying we'll probably see the life returning to normal or post-pandemic life in the summer, which is pretty promising because she's been pretty conservative with her comments.
Interesting. So I feel like you guys just have like a different situation to us, though. Like it seems to be so much more positive.
A little bit positive, and like I don't know, there's more space here. Our population density is not as high, but the one thing BC decided to do recently was they spaced out the like vaccination dose. Like it's a 2-part thing. They gave it like 8 weeks in the past. Now they moved to like 16 weeks. They doubled the gap. So they think they can double the first, like, I don't know the numbers exactly, but they get twice as many people vaccinated before they get their second dose as waiting. And that's kind of the MO right now. So they're saying like you get 90% coverage or something like that with the first dose. I don't know how this shit works, but if that's what they're thinking, then cool.
Whatever helps, man. Like, interesting. I feel like it's also, like, without getting too deep into it again, the fact that you guys have been open. Because I feel like there's not enough data to say something like a brewery, just based on this, what we're talking about, shouldn't be open here, or a restaurant even if they're reduced capacity, like as far as spreading. Like, if you guys have had that open the whole time, yes, you've got less population density, but wouldn't there still be an uptick in cases if the spreading was coming from restaurants and breweries? I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we've closed them down here, like, how do we know that that's
effective?
Yeah, or a part of it. Are you guys frozen? God damn it, ask him a serious question there first.
That's the first time in like what, another hour and a half?
Yeah, at least. What are we at?
God dang.
Oh my god, we're at 3 hours. I've had the cursor off the screen. Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh, they went off. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like the fact that they've been open the whole time. This is one thing, like I'm very conservative.
Ask them about like restrictions in the fucking tap room. Do they have any?
I think they're 25%.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. There we go. That was the first time for a while. Yo, I just realized it's been like over 3 hours. This is the fucking flu.
Yeah.
I told you it would fly. Good
That's
times.
Hilarious.
You're having fun, right? You just like all of a sudden, like I had the cursor off the screen and I wasn't even looking where the at the time. All I was saying was I guess we don't know the answer, but the point is that like if everything is closed here in Montreal and Toronto as far as breweries and restaurants and such, yes, our COVID cases are going down now. Quebec at a little higher rate than Ontario from what I saw recently. Not sure why that is. but you guys have had restaurants, breweries, stuff like that open basically the whole time, and you guys have had a lesser rate. So that wouldn't that suggest that there's no spreading necessarily through those avenues, and the spreading is happening elsewhere?
I think so, man. Like, yeah, that's something that must be frustrating for Quebec and other provinces.
I can imagine.
And like, there's a huge here. Like, there is a huge advocacy for like restaurants are not the problem. It's like outside of that, because restaurants are fucking desperate to get customers in,
so they'll
do whatever it takes.
Yep.
To keep it clean, sanitize, space people out.
I mean, if you're wearing your mask to your seat, and then around your seat, there's usually the plexiglass stuff, and then they're spaced out. And so, like Brent said, you wear your mask when you go to the bathroom. So it's like it's pretty controlled in a way, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence coming from that sector, like the hospitality sector, of cases. But
there's one incident recently in Metro Vancouver, a pub doing a trivia night.
Yeah.
And there's like 20 people there, and it turned out to like link to 300 cases. And it's just like, what are you doing like an event like that? 20 people are hanging out together. That's just a bad idea.
Yeah. See, that's a different pub trivia is so much different than coming to a brewery with a party of two to have a meal, a couple beers in a plexiglass thing.
Hang session. It's like a social.
Yeah, I think there's a large difference between that. And even in Montreal, they had a big, like in the summer, the street here called Montreal is, they shut it down in the summer last year. They would normally have all these events, but they just shut the whole thing down. They let all the restaurants have huge patios, and most of them had plexiglass and separation. This is when they probably couldn't have inside dining, and they were letting do that. And it all, like, as much as like we didn't participate in that because we were still unsure. It was only a couple months in. We were like, I don't know.
We're also making like an inside outside, which is defeating the purpose of like
the outside
actually doing that. Make some really secure inside outsides. It's like you're not listening.
Yeah, I just feel like it's like that's the hardest part for everything, and it's really not fair for the brewery owners because it's like the inconsistencies are just wild. So it's like, how can anyone feel comfortable or confident dealing with any of this?
Yeah, I know it's tough.
So I'm happy at least you guys are able to open and shit is good. Hopefully they'll things will keep moving over here. But I'm glad that you guys are thriving, dominating, killing the game, knocking out fire.
Facts.
That's what the fuck it is.
Doing what we can. Doing what we can.
Doing what you can. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I realize we're definitely a little over the the approximate time that we set. No, this has been like such a dope conversation. So like I feel like we got everything in that I wanted to cover this evening. It's been a genuine pleasure, boys. Thank you seriously for your time and generosity, and it's love everything you're doing. We are always going to support. Loved it. I'm just happy. It's brilliant.
Thank you guys for having us, man. This has been an absolute blast.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, man, a real blessing. Much appreciated. Thank you for having us. This is a lot of fun, and we'd love to do it again sometime.
Oh my God, not even a question.
Keep
in
touch on
absolutely
personal. Yeah,
man,
can't wait to like see you guys in person and have some beers.
Yeah,
bro, we were just talking about it. Like, if things go the right way this summer, that we were thinking about coming out, depending on how shit goes or whatever. Like, we really want to come.
Yeah.
It's been on our every single summer. Tiff and I don't know if no shoe were thinking, but Tiff and I was like, we always need to get.
Man, I'm gonna mountain bike out that way and just live in the mountains and just send it down the hill, mate. And I'll come down for some beers in Delta. Let's go.
Yeah.
We'll come hang out with you in the city. We'll hang out here in Delta. Absolutely.
Bro, it's about to be on. Do we need to do? We need to do the thumbnail for YouTube. So I'm going to take a screenshot. You guys want to hold up some beers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it. I know you grab a little Tufty Stouty.
Ooh, you know what? I'm going to do the Quadrona. Even though we didn't drink it, I'm just going to flex on them.
You know what's fun about the Hüft paisley blue and white, which all the beer wenches wear?
They love it.
Right?
got this.
Get
your pretty faces in there, boys.
Go back here,
I'll
right?
do this one because you got that.
There you go. There we go. All right. You ready?
No, I'm not ready yet. I don't got my face on.
Get your face on. Take your time. Oh, you bloody flaming legends. Look at that. That is something to put on a Christmas card.
That's a thumbnail.
That is what I call a thumbnail, God damn it.
Thumbnail.
Gentlemen, where can we find Four Winds Brewing online?
Well, you can go to, if you're fourwindsbrewing.ca, or if you're looking to go to our shop, shop.fourwindsbrewing.ca.
You damn right.
We're working on revamping, redesigning our whole website. We're in the middle of that right now. We've kind of have an old school site going on that we got up 8 years ago, and we have a Shopify account kind of attached to that. But we're trying to redo the whole thing, so that's coming soon.
I love it, and is it Four Winds Brewing or Four Winds Beer online on Instagram?
Brew.
Oh, Instagram?
Oh, Instagram's at Four Winds Brew Co.
Brew Co. Okay.
Yeah.
Verified. It's probably one of
Verified.
You see that blue tick, bro? You see that shit? That ain't average.
Everybody knows now. Gangster.
We were like, why not? Let's just see what they say, and they were like, okay.
That's right. That's right. Oh, it actually worked. You did it through the submit thing, and it worked.
Pardon me?
You did it through the just submit. You just submitted your profile for verification.
Pretty much. I think it took a few times, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's amazing, because typically my understanding was a lot of publicists have some sort of plug with Instagram, so you hire a publicist and the publicist gets you verified. That is amazing to hear, but that's what you get.
That's good.
Buy a beer.
That's fantastic.
Buy a beer.
Definitely.
8 years. Never. What happened? You
Not stopping.
I love it.
Verified fire beer.
That's right. Verified fire. Oh, you can use that. Put that all on the website. I think that's important. People need to know verified fire beer. Notion, where can everyone find you online, my G?
At Notion Baby on Instagram and Twitter, at Illnote Studios on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, illnotestudios.com. Holla at your boy, mixing, mastering, production, and photography.
And hugs post-pandemic. You know what I mean?
Mad hugs.
Enough hugs. Everyone's like, mate, this has been a pleasure. Boys, stick around after I wrap this up, and we'll finish up. I'm going to finish up this part. So, guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all of y'all. If everyone you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell.
Ding!
So you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast, and check out the long form audio. We are everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything. And you can see us every week here on YouTube. We are usually live on Fridays around 9 p.m. Sometimes we have a bonus episode with some fucking attractive legends like Brent and Adam. You see them right there. You look at that. Look at that glorious chiseled chin. You see them. You see them right there. We'll be back tomorrow evening, 9 p.m., y'all. We'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.